2.5 hours. Trigger Happy Tay and the murders of Sess and Neef. If you don't know about the Tay Savage story, that shit like a movie, bro. I'm not gonna lie. Like that is the craziest shit. Um, but I don't know how this shit is 2.5 hours long. Like I know his story, and I still don't know how he made it. How he stretched it out 2.5 hours. I don't know if the stuff I don't know that's in here, or he just stretched it out. But we gonna see.
Sponsored by Henson Shaving. Warning. The purpose of this video
Oh
is
shit!
educational, informational,
He read all
and
this shit.
documentary purposes only, and it's not intending to glorify, incite, or encourage illegal behavior in any way.
I just seen a pic of that he taking care of his dead man's kids like said he
Everything in
is.
this video has been taken from
Tay
publicly
Savage?
available sources, and any footage used is covered under the doctrine of fair use. We have made every effort to ensure the accuracy of our sources, but I'm not responsible for content third parties publish. It's with you can't show you on use of my videos for just $2 a month. But if you're not interested in that, just hit the subscribe button and get ready to hear one of the craziest stories ever told. Ever since gangster rap first emerged from Los Angeles in the 1980s, fans have been obsessed with the gangsters behind the music, questioning whether the man holding the microphone is a real gangster like they say in their raps, or just an actor playing the role of gangster. When Tupac Shakur made the transition from dancer to gangster rapper...
What was that, fucking CB40? Yep. Oh,
CB4. When Tupac Shakur made the transition from dancer to gangster rapper, many people questioned the authenticity of his lyrics about the streets. However, his infamous manager Suge Knight, a member of the Blood Gang, was undeniably a fearsome gangster.
When's Suge Knight getting out?
For violence. A decade after the murder of Tupac, the world would be introduced to gangster rap 2.0 in the form of 50 Cent, the street hustler turned rapper who survived an assassination attempt where he was shot 9 times. 50 Cent's gangster
assassination, I guess.
And his backstory, combined with top-tier lyricism on the mic, made him one of the most successful rappers in the history of the genre. 10 years later, the world would be introduced to gangster rap 3.0 in the form of Chief Keef. This 16-year-old affiliate of Chicago street gang the Black Disciples would shock the rap world with songs and music videos that gave fans a window into the life of a teenage Chicago gangbanger, surrounded by goons and guns, living in a place where ordering a hit is as easy as ordering a coffee, and where many people don't stand a chance of making it to age 18. Ever since Chief Keef emerged, the genre of Chicago drill music has been characterized by booming beats combined with gritty lyrics telling real stories from the streets. But what sets Chicago drill music apart from much of the gangster rap that came before it is the frequent use of lyrics to discuss real-life crimes and murders, often even referencing the victims directly by name. Whether it's the frequent dissing of a 15-year-old gangster disciple by the name of Tuka who was murdered, to more recently, fellow black
Suge will be eligible for parole in 10 years? Damn.
Rapper King Von, who as well as being rumored to have played a role in as many as 7 Chicago murders.
Bro, I just seen they named him in like killing like some girl in 2018 or some shit.
Would eerily make a rap song and
they used to be throwing bodies on him,
depicting himself murdering longtime rival FBG Duck only months before the real-life murder of Duck would play out on the streets of Chicago, with it even being rumored that Von himself had placed the $100,000 bounty on Duck's head that got him killed. For the past few years, King Von has become a prime example of a gangster rapper who really lived what he rapped about, with his buzzing rap career seemingly being boosted dramatically by his reputation as a real killer who did dirt in the streets and got away with it. However, since King Von was killed in a fight outside of a nightclub in November 2020, Chicago drill fans have been desperately looking for the next big thing. The next drill rapper who really did all the things they rap about and are a genuine gangster in the streets as well as on the microphone. And in 2022, drill music might have just found the realest thing since King Von. Tay Savage, real name Dwayne Timberlake, is a Chicago gangster with an extensive resume in the streets.
Damn.
So much so that police paperwork even refers to him by his nicknames Badass Tay or Trigger Happy Tay, and other legendary figures in Chicago drill like Tay 600 would openly confirm the rumors of Tay being a genuine gangster.
You know, y'all always asking me about Tay Savage and did I know him? And
wait, this what Tay Capone be on now? He be on the interviews and
really
shit.
Like what we heard. And
I haven't seen him in a while.
A lot of gangster shit happened, a lot of real street shit going on, but he beat 2 murders. He beat Sess and Neef right up, beat him right up.
I remember when Polo the Jew was coming up, he gave Tay Capone, I don't know how they got a relationship. They had a relationship before Polo blew up, and Polo ended up giving a feature after like Final Things came out.
Definitely.
That was the last time I heard about him.
Who y'all think he is, and he want me to let y'all know that. Like, this ain't none of me talking out of turn. Folks really him. I ain't gonna lie to you. He really the first Von. He just never did the rapping and all of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, all the fans like the rappers who rap what they really live. If y'all wanna go listen to it who really live what they rap, go listen to Tay Savage.
Much like King Von, Tay Savage made a name for himself as a gangster long before he started making a name for himself as a rapper. He would actually be accused of being the trigger man in 2 back-to-back murders of a man and woman named Seth and Neef that took place in 2011. Allegedly
y'all don't know anything about that Air Apostle
named Welch that had allegedly been set up and killed by the deceased duo. Tay's involvement in these murders appears to be one of the worst-kept secrets in Chicago drill history. And yet, with the streets knowing exactly what he had done, Tay Savage would end up spectacularly beating both murder charges at a trial, beating the state so bad that as a result, they would come down on Tay extra hard for an armed robbery charge, which even despite efforts to take out the witnesses, resulted in Tay getting slapped with a monster sentence of 20 years in jail. However, he would end up serving just under 10 years of this sentence before being released on parole. And much like Von, upon his release, Tay would seize the opportunity, quickly becoming Chicago's most buzzing rapper, racking up millions of spins with stories all about his life as a Chicago gang member who beats murders like they're nothing. So today, let's take a closer look at Tay Savage, the murders, the music, and the man who everybody says is the realest gangster rapper to emerge from Chicago drill since King Von.
Y'all call him Tay Sav, bro. I call him John Wick.
I've been through a lot. Shot, stabbed,
Yo, it's
locked
really
up
a
for
movie.
murders. These all for murders.
Oh, not the
He beat
paperwork.
2 murders.
Beat murders.
So how long did you actually do in jail, like
I
consecutively?
did 8 years and 9 months.
Locked up for attempts.
Then I had some attempts before that. I had 2 attempts I beat. I did 18 months on that.
Armed robberies.
But then you actually ended up getting locked up for like 9-10 years off of robbery, right?
You know, I was fighting two separate murders and a carjack.
He beat Seth and Neef right up, beat him right up.
Beat with the session. Her daughter, a rapper.
The situation with him allegedly killing.
That's the craziest shit, bro. Her daughter a fucking rapper, Blazing Doll? That is
Dog
crazy.
Mama.
And you had reposted her music.
Yeah, I just want to support her for the
Like, what's the likelihood that shit happened?
I know he killed that girl mama. He shot at me. It hit them.
Damn.
I beat those murders, you know what I'm saying? And that's a blessing.
All for murders.
I seen somebody and I couldn't visualize their face.
But whoever did it had a mask on, you feel me? Whoever smoked out had a mask on. Some of them were saying that I did. They said my name, pointed me out in lineups.
I know it's you, Tay. Do some John Wick, Sean.
See, I would have beat that.
Yo,
I would beat that.
yo.
If y'all wanna go listen
Nah,
to
J-May
who
funny
live
as
what they
hell.
rap, go listen to Tay Savage.
Only reason I say he is savage is because of what I seen with my own eyes.
You can't believe nothing he say. Nothing.
The low end. A Chicago war zone.
The story of Tay Savage and Welch World takes place in an infamous
Low
part
end
of
or no
Chicago's
end?
south side known as the Low End. The Low End is a name that Chicago locals use for the neighborhoods that are roughly located in and around the Bronzeville district. This is an area that, unlike most of the famous hoods of Chicago, like O Block, Lamron, Tuckerville, or Jarrow City, exists on the north side of Washington Park and is located much closer to downtown Chicago. The name the Low End is derived from both the location in the lower numbered streets of the south side and the neighborhood's lowly status. This lowly status was true particularly in the past when Bronzeville and the surrounding area were home to some of Chicago's and America's largest social housing projects, such as the Ida B. Wells Homes, Harold L. Ikes Homes, Stateway Gardens, and Robert Taylor Homes, which was the largest public housing project in the United States. Many of these projects were built
Oh, I
along
heard
the
about
state
that. I was about to say, I didn't hear about any of them. I don't know any of those projects, but that last one I do. I remember a picture of it.
Street, forming the so-called State Street Corridor, a huge aggregation of enormous social housing projects, which
Damn.
included the Harold L. Ikes Homes, Robert Taylor Homes, Dearborn Homes, Stateway Gardens, and
I know ain't nothing good going
These
on over
projects
there.
were enormous and ridden with
Damn.
crushing poverty, crime, and violence that reached their peak during the 80s and 90s, when these areas were often referred to in the media as
Pulling a
full-blown
thousand?
war zones, where gangs were large and well organized, with some even having snipers on the roof to keep rival gangs and the police at bay.
Snipers is
But in order to
crazy.
understand how the Low End came to be so dangerous, we need to go even further into the past, to a lesser known period when the area and its citizens were actually thriving. In the early 1900s, as a series of oppressive and discriminatory laws were emerging in numerous southern states,
Bro, that's why you talk about this shit every video.
These laws were meant to marginalize black citizens by denying them the right to vote, hold jobs, or get an education. In response to this discrimination, a significant number of African Americans chose to relocate their families to the northern states in pursuit of a better life and improved opportunities in what became recognized as the Great Migration. In Chicago, many of these African Americans settled in and around what is now known as Bronzeville, but at the time, it became known as the Black Belt, partly due to its belt-like shape. Particularly later, it was also known by the more flattering name, the Black Metropolis, which more appropriately reflected the neighborhood's character at the time, with it becoming known for its lively streets, with many shops, enterprises, medical facilities, and educational institutions managed by African Americans. It also became renowned as a hub for music, particularly jazz and blues, which garnered immense popularity amongst both the white and black populations, with the area eventually becoming home to numerous distinguished African American creators and thinkers, including sociologist Horace Clayton, journalist and advocate Ida B. Wells, and jazz icon Louis Armstrong. However, the Black Metropolis didn't simply form as a result of African Americans sticking together in their new hometown, but rather, even in northern cities like Chicago, there were increasingly laws in place that in different ways allowed the segregation and discrimination against African Americans. For example, restrictive covenants, which permitted black citizens to only live within certain neighborhoods where they were already the majority. The racial tensions in Chicago to only
racially restrictive covenants, in particular, are contractual agreements among property owners that prohibit the purchase, lease. What the fuck? So they saying you can't rent my house because you're black?
Live within
Man, what the hell?
Where they were already the majority. The racial tensions in Chicago and the rest of the country finally boiled over in the summer of 1919.
Are you gonna be live tomorrow, Joe?
Known as the Red Summer.
You tell me.
Massive white supremacist terrorism, race riots, and massacres taking place all over the United States. In Chicago, things reportedly erupted after the murder of a 17-year-old black teenager named Eugene Williams, who was at the beach rafting with some friends and ended up getting stoned to death by a white man named George Stauber for allegedly crossing an invisible racial line between black and white beaches. Williams,
how the fuck you get stoned to death?
At the beach rafting with some friends and ended up getting stoned to death by a white man named George.
You got stoned by one person? How the fuck that makes sense? Fight back. Like, he's just throwing rocks at you, and then there's multiple people here, so they just let him, like, get rocks thrown at him?
Williams ended up dying
what's going on?
as a result of the stones thrown at him, and after the police refused to arrest Stauber, unrest soon spread rapidly amongst the people at the beach. This eventually caused
like, what do you gotta get? What type of rock do you gotta throw and get hit with to, like, get knocked out, bro? Damn. I'd be thinking, like, motherfuckers not throwing fucking 30-pound rocks. They can't throw them. So it's like, motherfuckers throwing, like, 5-pound rocks. Just, I don't know.
Distraught black man.
That's crazy.
Gun towards the police, leading him to be
multiple
killed
people
on the spot.
there.
Now, these were already volatile times, with the Spanish flu pandemic of 1918 still
Spanish
ravaging
flu.
the nation. And with many white men having recently returned back home after the World War I, there was resentment in cities like Chicago towards the idea that the quickly growing black population were taking over the veterans' former factory jobs. This was a time of high racial tensions, and white supremacy had unfortunately permeated popular culture, with these tensions taking place in the years following the 1915 release of the racist blockbuster movie The Birth of a Nation. Now, the events on the beach of Chicago appeared to be the perfect excuse for many white men to unleash their anger towards black people. Soon, they stormed the streets, targeting black neighborhoods where they would shoot indiscriminately into buildings, as well as attacking any black person they would run into.
What the fuck? They just walking through the hood and just, like, snatching people up?
Shoot indiscriminately
and fucking shooting at people? Nah.
Any black person they would run
that
into.
is crazy. I was gonna say casualties and shit.
World War I, however, there were also many black soldiers that had recently returned back home too, armed with not only appropriate weaponry, but also the skills and determination they needed to successfully defend their neighborhoods. The contributions of these black veterans defending the community are often considered.
This shit is sad though. Like, this is crazy that the United States has history like this. Like, that shit is crazy to me. Just some fucking racist people just like, oh, let's just go to the black people's neighborhood and just shoot them and kill them. They're not gonna do anything about it.
Crucial for ending these riots relatively quickly.
Why are you talking about this? Is the history of Chicago?
Quickly and keeping the casualties relatively low in Chicago.
I don't know. Trapper Ross tried to, like, he tried to do his due diligence and, like, this is the neighborhood that Tay Savage grew up in. This is what made him who he is and shit.
The dust settled. Some days later, 38 people, 23 black and 15 white, were dead, and over 350 people were injured, and over 1,000 black households had been burned down. Unfortunately, as we already know, the plight of black Southerners wouldn't end there, as the eruption of these racial tensions would only increase the segregation in the city of Chicago, eventually leading to significant overcrowding, lack of investment, and substandard housing conditions in Bronzeville, bringing it from being the black metropolis to having a reputation of being a slum. And while the idea behind the large public housing projects built by the Chicago Housing Authority from 1937 onwards may have been noble, in many ways, the jamming of thousands of poor and marginalized people together in these enormous concrete jungles only exacerbated the problems in these areas like the Low End. However, now, most of these large social housing projects have been since torn down. And unlike some other neighborhoods that suffered greatly, after the destruction of these project buildings displacing the neighborhood's poorest residents, the Low End, more specifically Bronzeville, has actually been experiencing some gentrification in recent years.
The hood is on valuable property. Big companies starting to buy the hood, fix up the hood, and sell the hood to rich people.
I mean, you know, they building condos right next to us, man. They tore all the projects down, and they tore down Stayway. They tearing down the Wells. They tore down the Taylors, the 40s, all that. You know what I'm saying? They trying to take this land because we could walk to downtown, you know, so this is really valuable property right here.
Hey, so what's that building right there, man?
Man, that's the town. That's what they trying to do. They rehab. You know what I'm saying? They made our guys move up out of there, man. You know what I'm saying? Luckily, my grandmother got lucky to get an apartment down there. Now, the rent down there like $1,500 and up now. You know what I'm saying? Used to be the Jets, but now they rehab. That's what they trying to do to up and down state, man. You know what I'm saying? They tearing down, putting condos. Now, like Chinese places deliver down there. They get pieces delivered. We can't get it delivered right here. This across the street. Look how close that is.
Oh, so you saying the pizza men don't even come here?
None of that. We don't get it, but they come right across the street though because they rehab.
Damn.
So
that's crazy. That's crazy. They got like some rich ass fucking just built building right next to the churches.
But they won't deliver over here.
That's crazy.
Nah, they ain't gonna deliver over here because, like I said, they rehab those. There used to be.
Hey, but why you think they won't deliver over here though?
You already know, cause my getting down on there, taking pieces and running, all that shit.
And some have even suggested that the gentrification in the Low End is actually an example of things being done right, with a large number of the new higher income residents still being African Americans, who actually grew up in neighborhoods like Bronzeville and are now interested in bringing back its historic charm from the time when it was known as the Black Metropolis. There are apparently also a high number of vacant lots in the area that are ready for quality redevelopment, with the amount of opening spaces that are still available apparently helping to keep prices for the new homes somewhat affordable despite the district's central location close to downtown Chicago. However, despite some positive aspects of the way civic planning has been handled in the Low End, there would still be young people falling through the cracks in the concrete of this historically tense neighborhood. And the story of the area's gang stronghold, which would later become known as Welch World, begins over a decade ago, when the last of the projects were being torn down, leaving thousands of former residents in need of new homes, with many of them still settling down in the different neighborhoods around Bronzeville, where they would form new friendships and alliances, and in some cases, forming new gang sets. And it's in this moment that a young Tay Savage would also settle in the area, finding his new stomping grounds in the heart of Bronzeville, the place where he would later become a true savage. And now a quick word from our sponsor.
What the fuck?
Good technology giantly, holding the blade at 30 degrees for an easy shave effectively. So peace.
Bro. So Icy versus the Av. Low end game winner. Wow.
Tay Savage, real name Dwayne Timberlake, spent his first years with his grandmother in the Auburn Gresham neighborhood around the streets of 76th and Racine. This is located in the far south side of Chicago.
I'm from Welchville, you know, I'm originally from 76th and Racine, Rock Island, you feel me? That's where I really was born. My grandmother stayed like they from 76th and Racine, and my granddaddy and them was like on the low end. That's how I came to Welchville or whatever. But I go back all summer, be with them all summer, whatever. Or, you know what I'm saying? I ain't any break, I go kick it. Well, she really raised me, to be honest. My grandma, well, she, you know, when I was little, baby, whatever. I really stayed with her most of the time. But
a territory of a gang known as Rock Island, who are made up of mostly conservative vice lords. Now, conservative vice lords are an interesting gang with a rich history. Considered to be the oldest faction of the almighty vice lord nation, the vice lords formed in 1957 when several African-American youths moved from Mississippi to Chicago, coming together while incarcerated and recruiting others to join their gang, and ultimately engaging in conflicts with other gangs or clubs in different Chicago neighborhoods. The conservative Vice Lords was started around 1958 by the 7 original founding members of the Vice Lords. The conservative Vice Lords were essentially intending to soften the image of the overall almighty Vice Lord Nation gang. The conservative Vice Lords...
Wait, is Tay a VO? If he's not, then why are we talking about this shit?
themselves as more of a community outreach group, legitimizing their activities through Conservative Vice Lord Incorporated, often being referred to at these times as the socially conscious street gang.
The guys over here in the Vice Lords, the people over here in the Lawndale area, want their piece of the pie. And they're willing to do their homework, like I said again, to get it.
The Conservative Vice Lords came as a result of some older Vice Lords realizing that the younger Vice Lords were breaking in houses in the community.
Yeah, what's your problem, son?
Committing a lot of crimes, and they were getting violent, and it's like violence on peoples in the community. And so they wanted to shut that down.
Into the 60s, this faction became involved in different community outreach initiatives trying to prevent violence and crime and support positive change.
What is he wearing? Why they all got different colored pants? Purple, pink, green?
In Chicago's black communities.
Nah.
And CVL Incorporated would even receive grants from
That's
powerful
not
funders
it.
like the Rockefeller Foundation to further their mission. However, as it would turn out, this didn't stop the street side of the Vice Lords continuing to run an illicit empire.
God damn, he give me the history on everything. Mickey Cobras, all that shit.
Vice Lord Nation, and running what was later described as a complex criminal enterprise.
Going to
running
gangology
protection
class.
and murdering business owners who refused to be extorted. One of the Vice Lords' leaders, Bobby Gore, would ultimately end up being jailed for murder, and over the decades that followed, many fragmented Vice
And sent to prison for 10 years off of murder?
Lord factions would form
Nah, he
neighborhoods
telling.
all over Chicago, with the heavily armed young members bringing violence to
10
their
years for murder is
neighborhoods,
crazy.
telling the news in the 90s that they're ready to kill anyone who comes into their building.
Meet the Vice Lords.
We got 50 shot
So he got white face on, or he don't got no lotion?
Max. This small. We got checks. We got 30-30s. We got Uzis.
Just one of the many heavily armed street gangs in Chicago.
Hey, we hunt whoever try to hunt us. That's how it is. The gang survival. Right.
You hunting people.
Right. Anybody who try to come through our building.
One us go down. They going down too.
One us go down. Everybody got to go.
This is the kind of environment that a young Tay Savage was growing up in, and despite hailing from the Vice Lord stronghold of Rock Island, apparently Tay would eventually be sent to live with his mother in the suburbs at the outskirts of Chicago, getting momentarily away from the dangerous gang-infested environment of the South Side.
My pops was locked up most of my life, but my OG really was holding it down, you feel me? She had moved out to the burbs, so I really was decent, you know what I'm saying?
What suburbs was you staying in?
I mean, I was all through the burbs, like the north suburbs, like Aurora, all out that way, Aurora, Hoffman Estates, Bartlett, you know what I'm saying? I was all through that. Then I started kind of getting out of hand, you feel me? So she sent me with my granddaddy or whatever. And then, you know, that's kind of, you know what I'm saying? I
became a product of your environment.
Yeah.
But Tay's behavior was getting out of hand, and eventually, after going back and forth from his mother and grandmother, Tay would eventually be sent to live in the low end where his grandfather lived. Finding his
I don't understand that. Like, he's in the burbs. Why would you take him out the burbs and put him back in the city?
Grounds in a neighborhood run by a set of gangsters called
I don't care if you can't control him. Out there is way better than in the city.
Or Bird Gang, or So I See Trap Boys. So I See was made up of members with a heritage in both the Black Disciples and the Gangster Disciple street gangs, with many of the smaller gang sets in modern-day Chicago being made up of a variety of people with heritage in different...
Oh, are they moving?
The smaller gang sets in modern-day Chicago being made up
they're
of a
moving
variety
in.
of people with heritage in different street gangs.
Wait, the Conservative Vice Lords, this is the Playboy logo? The Playboy bunny?
Tay explained himself in a No-Jumper
Oh,
interview,
shit.
this gang didn't care about your original affiliations at all.
The P-Stones?
In terms of, like, well, break it down for me, because they said when I was reading about your history and stuff that Welsh World contains GDs and BDs.
Yeah, y'all. So, man, we got a mixture. Like, we got a mixture in our hood, you feel me? We got all type of stuff. BD, GD, FO, I don't know. We got all type of stuff. We don't really care about that, to be honest with you. So you ain't gonna never just see us like, oh yeah, we super GDK. Nah.
That's the craziest shit. That's like when motherfuckers in New York got Bloods and Crips on one block, and like I remember when the Woos and Cho shit started popping up, and people started realizing like, oh, they got red and blue flags in their shit. They thought that was the craziest shit in the world. But his block got GDs and BDs.
Bro, no,
that's crazy to me.
Most of them all BDs. Most all like
I never heard of that.
And all of them, they mostly all BDs. The guys like my age, it's all a mixture. Like we don't really care about that. We all 40th, 43rd.
Yeah.
So icy, Welch
It's been about the
The
blocks.
set So Icy
Where are you
likely
from?
got their name after Gucci Mane's first hit song with Young Jeezy by the same name, and the members were clearly already big fans of Gucci Mane, with Tay Savage himself being seen in early Facebook videos actually dancing to Gucci Mane's classic anthem, My Kitchen. And it would appear that members of So Icy had aspirations in the rap game too, with So Icy members recording themselves freestyling on the block.
So Icy, we 40 of them. Catch us where that camera 39, we taking over. All them counterfeit, we gangsters in the making. Dreaded like Jamaicans. First young actor, not that cushy, me spacing. So you know what we blazing. Ask your girl how it tasting. And Lil Mama said amazing. Told the cush man who she dating. Been kicking it on 40. You know I got that 40. Plus give me in rotation, cause the trigger happy shorties. Trap shot.
So Icy's main territory was roughly between 40th Street in the north, 43rd in the south, King Drive in the west, and Cottage Grove in the east. And members of So Icy would regularly record themselves walking their strip and holding down their territory, as well as having parties on the block outside.
This bitch, you know you could have did so ass. Right, man, you know how we get it, man. So Icy Trap Boy, muscle in the building. No, he in this bitch, man. So Icy Trap Boy, stand up, man.
God damn. I'm talking straight to the mic.
Boy, got Richie, aka King, sorry, man. You know what it is, yo. Yeah, the money over there,
All the
man.
question marks.
You got the honchos in the pocket, yo. You know we getting money, man. Stop playing.
Before the meteoric rise of Tay Savage as a rapper in 2023, this neighborhood had received relatively little attention from fans of Chicago drill and rap. But it has produced quite a few characters who ended up playing important roles in the rise of the drill movement.
Main
One of
characters,
these
side
people was
characters?
Chicago rapper Billionaire Black, who was born
side
and raised
character.
in the infamous Robert Taylor homes and later started hanging out with the So Icy members.
You was born and raised on the south side of Chicago. Am I correct?
Oh no, they got DGU outside?
To be specific, the low end. Welch World?
I was born in the Robert
Welch
Taylor,
World?
but yeah, I grew up high school, all that shit, Welch World, yeah. 40,
Okay.
40 and 43rd, thanks to late.
Billionaire Black has been rapping for a long time, years before the
Long
drill
ass
movement
time.
exploded onto the mainstream around 2012.
How
With
old is
early
he,
songs
like
of his
35?
More inspired by Atlanta rappers like Gucci Mane and Waka Flocka, which still circulate, having been recorded as early as 2008. Together with some guys from around So Icy's neighborhood, including rappers like Chopper Dagoon and his brother F. Dot, they would start a rap group called the Buck 20 Brick Boys, who dropped their first music video in 2009, a track called I Really Lived Dat, where they would tell real stories of the grimy street life in Chicago. While a young Tay Savage wasn't yet rapping at the time, he could still be seen sometimes in the back of music videos and blogs by the Buck 20 Brick Boys. The Buck 20 Brick Boys eventually begun to get a buzz in Chicago around 2010, helped partly by their music videos that already at the time looked relatively professional.
Damn,
This was
they
actually
love it.
thanks-
They love to watch the Nationals.
helped partly by their music videos that
All
already
get
at
the
the
same
time
hat.
looked relatively professional. This was actually thanks to the brother of
D.
F. Dot and
Gaines.
Chopper Dagoon, videographer D. Gaines, who would later play a pivotal role in capturing
I
some
have
of the biggest
name.
moments in the Chicago drill movement, shooting music videos for
Chief
many
Keef.
of the biggest rappers and songs in drill history, including many of Chief Keef's biggest songs,
Yup.
such as the video for the breakthrough hits I Don't Like and Love Sosa. He also did the video for Lil Durk's classic
Damn,
drill
L's
anthem,
anthem.
L's Anthem, and the song Right Here, which was Durk's first single after getting released from prison in 2012. And he would also record the video for FBG Duck's classic track Hell Yeah. Buck 20 Brick Boys had connections all over the South Side, and they were linked up
Now
with
they got the
numerous
bulletin
sets
board.
and rappers.
S.
including
Dot.
FBG Duck, who at the time still went by just Duck. S. Dot from 600, which at the time was still better known as Brick City.
Wait,
and
did S. Dot take
surprisingly, Lil
his
Durk
name
from
from
Lamb
Chicago
Ron,
too?
who would later become bitter rivals with some of the
Trolling.
members, most famously Billionaire Black, who of course ended up remaining much closer with the Gangsta Disciple rappers from 63rd, like FBG Duck. But before all of that happened, Lil Durk was collaborating with the Buck 20 Brick Boys and shouting them out.
What up, bro? Chillin', man. Shout out to Lou, you know. Shout out to Buck 20.
Besides rappers, one of the key members of So Icy and one of the most important characters in this story was a charismatic young man by the name of Anthony Welsh. He would be seen representing his block in numerous hood vlogs alongside a young Tay Savage.
39 for my Buck 20 Brick Boy, crew entertainment, man. Shout out to my somebody trap boy, stand up, my trap girls, all my trap hoes, man. My media news, man.
I'll run, that's the only thing y'all got to know, man. I might look like I'm off that, but I ain't off that, man. That's how I look, man. I with crew cats, man. We out here, man.
Where we at, Charlie?
Yeah, we have to put on the wild party on these.
Oh shit. Tay in the cut. Ah, shit.
Tell you what, hell, these shooters I talk about in them rounds, that shit real as hell. Don't be the topic.
Welch and
Don't
Tay
be the
would become
topic.
the best of friends, both running in the streets together, each respectively racking up.
Damn, before the neck tattoo?
With Tay receiving various charges from trespassing and reckless conduct to domestic battery and gun possession, while Welch would catch charges that included reckless conduct, trespassing, and manufacturing drugs. Tay and Welch were close and united in the battle to survive the difficult environment of life in the streets of Chicago's low end. The streets would be dangerous, and there would be numerous other gang sets operating in the low end at this time. However, because these sets existed before Chief Keef and other legends of drill music brought the world's attention to Chicago gang culture, and before the gang members would record their every move on social media, there's generally limited information about these sets available today. Based on some of the social media activity by the So Icy members that did exist at the time, they were closely associated with a handful of other nearby sets. So Icy affiliates such as the Beam Team from around 39th Street, which would later become known as OBN or Oak Boy Nation, named after the Oakwood Shores Apartments, which is also the hood of the early female drill pioneer Katie Got Bands. So Icy were also close with 4624 Hit Squad or 46 Terror from around 46th Street, which would later become known as THF 46 or the Trigger Happy Family. This is a set that has deep ties to famous sets like O-Block and Lamron, with one of THF 46's most famous members, Bezu, being a close friend of both Lil Durk and Von. There was also a small set in alliance with So Icy called Fifth Ward, which would later allegedly connect with THF 46. But there were also many other sets from around the low end that at least some So Icy members didn't get along with, such as the Rock Boys or...
Wait, are these logos that he made, or like, are these like
around the low
known
end that at least
logos?
some So Icy members didn't get along with, such as the Rock Boys or Rock Nation that originated in the Ike's projects, where they can still be seen hanging in this video clip from 2008, not long before the demolition of the last of the project buildings. Later, the Rock Boys would eventually begin operating around the Dearborn Homes public housing projects, and interestingly, the Rock Boys were seemingly connected with O-Block, the Black Disciple gang based in the infamous Parkway Gardens housing project, which was known in the streets at the time as
Why is this the point again?
O-Block comes from a famous resident of Parkway Gardens that was gunned down by the name of O.D. Perry. A member of the Rock Boys would even make a post on Facebook in 2020 suggesting that he was actually present when O.D. Perry was murdered in 2011. It's never been definitively proven who actually killed O.D. Perry and so-called created O-Block. What we do know, however, is that So Icy and the Rock Boys absolutely hated each other. In an old photo of Welch, he appears to be disrespecting the Rock Boys by showing their Jay-Z inspired Rockefeller hand sign upside down. Another set known to beef with So Icy is Lake Park, which would later become known as Suwoo or TTB from around the Lake Park Avenue near the shores of Lake Michigan. They were seemingly also beefing with So Icy and would later become associated with the murder of one of their most beloved members. Lake Park members could also be seen dissing Welch by throwing down
bro writing on his door
members. Lake Park
oh nah. Yeah, he got it, bro. He writing on his door and shit.
Members could also be seen dissing Welch by throwing down a W hand sign. Lawless is another low-end set that has beef with So Icy. The set is named after the Lawless Gardens housing project.
What is with these fucking... What's with these fucking Facebook comments? What is this?
Which sounds intimidating, but these projects are actually named after another distinguished black Southsider, internationally renowned black dermatologist and self-made millionaire Theodore K.
Black dermatologist, so he's a skin doctor. And they name these shit out
Lawless. The Lawless set were also known at the time as Jamar World, named after their member Jamar Moore, who was killed in 2010. Now, Tado from Chief Keef's Glow Gang hailed from Lawless and can actually be seen here in front of a tribute to Jamar, and this affiliation would later lead to tension between Tay Savage and Tado. Also, infamous gang set 051 Young Money from the southern end of Bronzeville would also get into a heavy beef with So Icy and Welch World, and one of their most known rappers, Lil Mark, would actually diss So Icy in his classic 2011 drill song Zico World, where he alludes to Young Money robbing the chain of Billionaire Black, shooting him, and even smashing his girlfriend before further dissing So Icy and THF 46. Another rival gang set that plays a key role in this story is called The Ave. The Ave is a set that hails from around 37th Street and Indiana Avenue. And sometime later in this piece, people from the Ave,
McCormick Place?
Street and Indiana
Isn't that
Avenue.
seasoning?
And sometime later in this beef, people from the Ave, Lawless, and the Rock Boys would all team up and represent together under the name 757. Many of the Ave's members were actually black disciples, and according to some, many of them grew up in the demolished Ida B. Wells Homes and Madden Park Homes projects, both of which had Black Disciple strongholds. But some of the AV members also
here we
came
go.
from other projects that had ties to many of the other sets in the low end. In fact, in that 2008 clip of the Rock Boys in the Ike's projects, there's an appearance by one of the most loved members of the AV and one of the key characters in this story, a female gang member called Cess, a nickname that's a shortened version of her real name, Princess. And Cess would appear in a 2008 vlog recorded in the Ike's Projects hallway.
This Cess, man. That's all I'm gonna say. I give a shout out to everybody from 30 motherfuckers film, low end motherfuckers production, straight like that, my niggas and the Iggies. Yeah, these my niggas, motherfuckers. Don't think I flip flop because I'm staying 35th in the Iggies. Yeah, these my niggas, 35th slash Iggies, motherfuckers. Having time we going to the party, y'all won't be for what? Because we getting them up. Stop hating and get your weight up, motherfucker. For sure, I'm the only female first lady in all this. And ain't nobody gonna take the top of my motherfucker. Straight like that, but ain't straight like that, it's straight wrong. Bring y'all hoes? No. We got goons on deck for sure. Play with me, get hit in your nose. I keep that bread for sure.
She rapping?
After leaving the Ikes, Cess would move to the app
fuck?
they would call Burr Street, likely named after Gucci Mane's famous ad-lib, Burr, with Cess actually having a daughter who became a rapper, Blasian Doll, who would later explain her movements as the daughter of a famous female gangster in her hood.
What it was like growing up with me on the low end, well, you know, my mom was Cess, so yeah, she was a real street bitch, so I grew up all in the ghetto in the trenches, like the Ickies and shit.
Real trench.
Then we was on 37 in Indiana, you know. I've been around guns and shit all my life. This shit, like, in me, for real.
What are your memories of your mom like?
I remember, like, when we was younger, we used to live in the Ickies.
How old is Blasian Doll?
A drug dealer.
Going to ride with another AV member.
We just skipped. Probably got something here to cut out. Is that a 5-year demon chain emoji or demon time emoji?
We used to live in the Ickies. She used to be like a drug dealer.
Going to ride with another AV member called Neef, real name Christopher Daniels, who can be seen in this hood vlog alongside Cess. Despite the two being opposite sexes, their relationship appeared to be platonic, and Cess was known to have boyfriends and baby daddies while still being out riding and sliding with Neef. In fact, at this time, Cess was already the mother to at least one child, and her daughter would grow up to become a female rapper by the name of Blasian Doll. Like the Buck 20 Brick Boys on the So Icy side, the AV would also have their aspiring rappers too. In fact, Neef and Cess themselves were seemingly also dabbling in rap, recording numerous songs together. Now it's unclear when the beef between So Icy and the AV began, or exactly why, but most likely, as is often the case, it's a complex mix of generational beef passed down by the older members, as well as new beefs that developed between individuals from the newer generations of both gang sets. But what can be said with some level of certainty is that the animosity could go back to at least the mid-2000s when a teenager named Stefan was killed. On January the 6th, 2006, the 18-year-old was pronounced dead after being found with a gunshot wound to the chest, and that murder remains unsolved to this day. Although Stefan didn't seemingly live in the low end at the time of his death, he was killed around So Icy's neighborhood. And in the first So Icy Buck 20 Brick Boys vlog on D Gaines' YouTube channel from 2009, members of So Icy can be seen shouting out their fallen members, including Stefan.
Yeah, man.
Rest PKD and Stefan, man. You know how we get down, man, over here, man.
Man, rest in peace to the boo doing everything, man. We get money out here, man. Real deal, I'm telling you, this out here, man. We out here, man. This crazy, man.
According to the online detectives of Chiracology, the AV, including Neef and another member called Kenny Mack, may have had something to do with Stefan's death. As the years would go on, more and more rumors of Neef and Cess being involved in deadly violence in the gang war would spread, but so too would the involvement of TAY Savage, who would eventually get so deeply entrenched in the streets, people would begin referring to him as the Bully, and a one-man army who would take out entire gang sets single-handedly.
Damn!
Before we go any further,
He's
I just
squad
want to remind
wiping?
you guys to support the TAY
That
Savage.
man squad wiping. The murder Welch. Tay becomes a savage.
TAY Savage has a reputation in the streets as a force to be reckoned with in Chicago's gang war. And this is a reputation that he's earned over years of battle in the low end's complex gang conflicts. Rumors of TAY Savage being a killer on his block go all the way back to 2008, with a notorious and since deleted wiki page focused on Chicago's gang wars, the War in Chirac wiki, containing an early theory on Tay's street activity. According to that wiki page, Tay was rumored to have killed a total of 3 people, being present for 2 other murders,
Assist.
and shot as many as 12 different people.
Damn.
The murder that Tay's name has for 2 other murders, having shot as many.
Damn. Nah.
As 12 different people. The earliest murder that Tay's name has been associated with was an AV member or affiliate by the name of Kumain. Real name Kumain Fears, he was killed by an unknown assailant in December 2008, shot dead while sitting in a car outside of his home. And while it's tempting to attribute this murder to Tay Savage without evidence, simply based on his reputation as a savage in the streets, however, an alternative theory on who was responsible for this murder actually paints a different picture. Kumain Fears is actually mentioned in a 2016 Intercept article exposing police corruption in Chicago. According to the article, during the 2000s, a CPD sergeant named Ronald Watts was running an extensive criminal racket, where corrupt officers led by him would extort drug dealers and receive payments in exchange for allowing them to conduct their business unscathed, as well as even apparently doing targeted hits on their rivals as favors. Kumain was apparently one of the dealers caught up in this police corruption racket. He at the time ran his dealing operation from the Ida B. Wells homes, which, as mentioned, were the projects where many of the AV members eventually came from. After these projects were shut down, Kumain would move his operation to the AV's neighborhood. But as the projects were now gone, so too were much of Kumain's profits. And according to his girlfriend, this would cause Kumain to refuse to pay tax to the corrupt cop Watts. And he had allegedly threatened to give Watts up to the feds. And then, only a few days after threatening to snitch on the corrupt cop, Kumain himself would be killed by a shooter that would hit him a total of 17 times.
Damn!
To the word on the streets, this murder was the work of Watts rather than Tay Savage. But like many of the older stories about Chicago murders, with conflicting stories about who might have pulled the trigger, we may never know who really did it. It's unclear where the rumor of Tay being behind this hit comes from, but regardless, he was still known to be heavily involved in the streets around this time, and in the years that followed, things would get extremely hectic on his block. The year 2010 would turn out to be critical in the beef between So Icy and the AV. On the 2nd of April, a man named Jermaine Streeter would end up being shot and killed in the AV's neighborhood. Jermaine was allegedly an older cousin of female AV member Cess and went by the name Maintain. Maintain was a loved member of the AV, and after his death, members would pay tribute to him on social media by posting photos of themselves wearing shirts with his picture, along with text saying, "Things ain't gonna be the same without Maintain, AV crazy." Reddit detectives would later theorize that the murder of Maintain was done by members of So Icy, specifically Tay's close friend Welch, and while the case remains unsolved, Maintain, AV crazy. Reddit detectives would later theorize that the murder of Maintain was done by members of So Icy, specifically Tay's close friend Welch, and while the case remains unsolved to this day, what we do know is that in later police reports regarding the murders of Cess and Neef, Maintain's case is listed as a reference, confirming that at least the Chicago police considered that his murder was related to this beef between these two factions. The events following the murder of Maintain are somewhat murky, but what we do know with some certainty is that at some time in May 2010, Tay Savage himself would become a victim of a shooting. On the 14th of May, people close to Tay would post on their social media indicating that Tay had been shot, but fortunately, he would survive. Tay himself would talk about this incident in a Say Cheese interview, saying that the incident happened after they had gotten into an argument with some people on the block.
And this is all, I mean, you're all outside just chilling.
Yeah.
And, I mean, you just weren't paying attention?
We was outside chilling, some little words broke out, you know what I'm saying? We having words with people, and, you know, one thing led to another, shots rang out.
One thing led to another.
Then, in the early hours of the next day, Saturday the 15th of May, Tay's friends would post again, wishing him to get well and seemingly threatening the people behind the attack. But what they didn't see coming, however, was later that day, another one of their good friends would become a victim of a shooting as well, and unfortunately, he wouldn't make it. At around 7
trying to
PM
score that
on the night of
bucket.
May the 15th,
Damn.
to a shooting near East 40th Street and King Drive. There, they would find two males who had been shot. One of them would end up surviving with a leg shot, but the other male would be pronounced dead at the scene. It would turn out to be Anthony Welch, who had been shot in the chest and left to die on the grassy patch between the lanes on King Drive, with the scene of the crime even being photographed as detectives combed for evidence, as Welch's body lay in the grass. Later that night, a friend of Tay and Welch, who had just been posting about Tay, would post again, sharing her pain of losing a loved one, but also revealing an interesting fact about the actions of Welch leading up to his death. Apparently Welch had wanted to see the friend the day before his murder, but hadn't told her where he was going, which the friend would seemingly only find out after his death, making her wish that he would have let her know what he was doing. Now, this post starts to seemingly make more sense when a few years after the murder, a member of the AV would straight up admit that they killed Welch, even saying that they were the reason that detectives were on the block. Another member would then quote the song "Now It's Over" by Chief Keef, but with changed lyrics, now indicating that Welch had come to their hood shooting, leading to him getting killed. The same story would be told again a few years later by a newer generation Av member and rapper, Rono, in the song Ballin', where he raps, "Burr Street, that's a danger zone, so be cautious. I remember Welch tried to shoot and run, and Fonum hawked him." Stories like this would lead to a rumor that Welch had actually gone to the Avs' hood looking to revenge the shooting of Tay the day before. But unfortunately, when he was there, members of the Avs spotted him, chasing him and his friend on their way back to So
And they say his gun jammed?
shooting them both on the spot and killing Welch. But even more interesting, allegedly the people that went after Welch were none other than the Avs' Sess and Neef, with Sess acting as the driver and Neef as the gunman. Now,
That's the craziest shit, bro. Like, you really got the Bonnie and Clyde. This man Tay got shot. That man Welch, next night, he was out there trying to catch him, trying to get back. Bro, his gun jammed, they hawked him down, got Bonnie and Clyde fucking driving and shooting.
Theory was seemingly confirmed by one witness statement to the police.
So you know what Tay gotta do now.
Identified Sess as being the driver in the
You
Welch.
know what he gotta do.
Even Tay himself would later talk about these events during one of his interrogations with Chicago police, saying to the cops outright that Sess being the driver on the Welch hit was indeed one of the theories. But Tay was not present for the shooting of his best friend, as he would still be stuck in hospital, clueless that his friend Welch had lost his life. And this would be reflected in social media.
Yeah, I remember, they was like, damn, I don't know how I was supposed to tell Tay.
Tay and Welch a few days after Welch's death, where they would discuss whether or not to even tell Tay about the tragic news of Welch's murder, with one of the friends urging the friend visiting Tay to tell the man.
Yeah, but this is crazier, Joe, because it's like that man Welch was trying to score, lost his life, and now Tay recovered. Really? Gotta do what he had to do, but he caught two of them, so it's like
that Tay can't handle losing Welch at this tough moment. In his Say Cheese interview, Tay would recall the events.
Now it's his right
eventually
hand,
Welch's
like
uncle who would break the tragic news to him.
Now I seen in the other interview you said that they didn't tell you until like days later.
Yeah.
Man, what am I called? Like he caught a mass shooting and beat all of them.
Yeah. I was in the hospital. And,
man, drenched.
So they ain't want to just, you know what I'm saying?
And critical.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Damn.
They waited till I got a little better than they told me.
And who told you?
Like Welch uncle. Welch uncle told, like, he the one who broke the news, like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. He told.
Soon after Welch's death, other members of So Icy and friends of Welch would also begin to comment on his death on social media, some saying RIP and others vowing to get revenge and pledging to kill the whole projects belonging to those who were responsible. 2 years later, describing Welch World as America's worst nightmare. They would also make numerous photo tributes to him, and even posted a tribute video to Welch on YouTube, which has since been deleted. A female friend of Welch and Tay would post several messages in the days following Welch's death, saying how she needs Tay to come back home because Welch is not there anymore to look after her for him, and saying how she and Tay's other friends would hold him down through this heavy loss, calling him the realest guy that she has ever met, and saying how she prays others wouldn't have to live through such a loss, and being grateful that Tay had survived his shooting. She would also say that she was talking with Tay on the phone daily, and they were crying and praying together every morning. A friend of Welch would also plead on social media, asking for all of the sets in the low end to come together and stop killing each other. As well as saying how Chicago had changed for the worse.
Can't do that shit now.
Torn down. About a week after Welch's death, on the 22nd of May, his funeral was held, and he was buried with a gravestone that included a picture of the Washington Nationals cap with the large W logo, which Welch was known to wear, and which in the following years would come to define his set. The name of this set would seemingly change almost immediately following Welch's death, with Welch World practically replacing the existing name So Icy by the end of May 2010, as members would agree that they were now known as Welch World. In June, one member would post on his social media telling Tay to get in contact with him and insinuating that Tay was going through a lot due to Welch's death. But it's unclear if Tay was still in the hospital at this time. At some point though, Tay would get out, and according to himself, he was furious about the death of his best friend.
And what was that? I mean, was you angry? What was that feeling like?
Yeah, I was angry. Angry. Furious.
And I know the feeling.
And you and Welch were like best friends?
Yeah.
Tay would later explain how this loss triggered something in him, turning him into a true savage.
Like, really, after Welch died, bro, that like, you know what I'm saying? Like, trigger something in the bro.
Tay would later respond to comments from 16 Shot 'em that during this time he had the low end walking on eggshells and became a one-man army.
I seen somebody make a post basically saying like, this the man who had the almost like had the low end walking on eggshells. and they called you like a one-man army.
The murder of Welch would seemingly become a defining moment in Tay's life, and after this is when he would really begin to
That's
earn
the
his nickname,
craziest
the
shit,
Bully.
bro.
Let me see.
Like that. Like, it's crazy that, man, people be back in this story that Tay was just, like, running shit. Like, after Welch, bro, you couldn't tell him shit, bro. And it's like, crazy that people back this story and, like, they agree with that shit. That's crazy.
Turned my bully up, for real. I always was, like, you feel me, like, doing my thing, but I really turned my bully up probably, like, when Welch died. So I really turned my bully up.
Saying that shit with a
It would
smile.
take less than a year for revenge to play out, but once he had recovered from the shooting, Tay Savage would return to the streets of Welch World, ready to show the whole city exactly why they would call him.
Ah,
Tay.
shit. The imitation gun? Nah. The murders of Sess and Neef.
After the murder of his close friend Welch, Tay's gang became Welch World, and trigger-happy Tay would get out of hospital and onto the warpath with hopes of avenging his fallen brother. He would eventually heal from his shooting, getting out of the hospital and back onto the streets of Chicago in 2010, and he would be seen on his block, surrounded by goons, who referred to him as a Welch World shooter in this throwback hood vlog.
Man, we gonna hold this bitch down. Shooters right here. Ain't nothing but shooters. Just trap.
Hey, look. My advice, you man, at the end of the night, try not to get got, man. We out here. We ain't playing with nobody. The world's real crazy. I got tatted. We in this bitch. The world's real crazy. We in this bitch.
You think we playing?
The whole low end, we trying to take over the whole side, man.
All on the rooftop.
Look out for that, man.
Later, in November of 2010, Tay would be back out on the streets, and on the 11th of November, he would be stopped by the police while driving with his friends on the far south side of Chicago. As Tay was asked to get out of the front passenger seat, he would try and flee, and during a scuffle with the police, a handgun would fall from his waist. Tay would continue resisting the arrest, hitting an officer in the eye, but he was eventually taken down. Now, this encounter would actually come up later, once Tay's music career began to blow up, as some Redditors and YouTubers began accusing Tay of snitching, after he had allegedly tried to pin the gun on the driver of the car, saying that the driver of the car had handed the gun to him, with intense debate persisting over whether or not this alleged statement amounted to full-blown snitching. Tay himself would even recall this event during his No Jumper interview, but not mentioning any statements.
What actually went down in the situation where you got caught with it?
So, man, my cousin had called me. You feel me? He like, man, he got into us. So I'm like, all right. They come grab me. Long story short, we go over there, we talk it out, because it was some guys from his block. So they talk it out or whatever, but when we leave, now bro forgot to cut the lights on of the car, so the police pulled us over. So when they pull us over, so I'm telling them like, man, take off, you know, but he didn't really want to take off, but boom. So when they pull us over, they ask for license, all that, so they tell us get out. So they tell us get out, I try to take off, you know what I'm saying? They grab me, slime me, all that, you know, I'm still trying to get away, but it was over with. They locked us up, they locked me up, they looked at my address, but I had like a weird address, so they wouldn't need my address. Cause now I'm waiting. Now I'm like, man, what's going on? So, cause usually it'd be like the next day you'll go to the county jail. So now I'm waiting. Oh yeah, the officer raiding your house. I'm raiding my house for what?
Damn.
While the full facts of this case remain unclear, what it does tell us is that Tay and his friends were riding around Chicago, armed and up to no good. And as 2011 rolled around, Tay would again become entangled with the law, next time much more seriously. In the early morning hours of Saturday the 5th of February 2011, Sess and her sister were out partying with some friends on the south side of Chicago. They had just left a party in the Auburn-Gresham neighborhood and were headed to another party on South Shore. But what they probably didn't know was that Gresham was Tay's old stomping grounds that he still frequented. And according to police paperwork, Tay was allegedly riding around with his friend that night when he spotted Sess in her car and decided to follow her. Sess's group arrived at the location of the second party around 2 a.m.
They said that was Tay's old stomping ground.
And after looking for a parking spot, they eventually parked across the street from
was
Windsor
in the
Nursing
wrong
Home.
neighborhood.
Around 2:05 a.m.,
You
Sess
familiar
got
with
out
that
of the car
shit?
ahead of her friends, as she apparently had to use the restroom. But as she stepped onto the street, Tay allegedly appeared from behind her friends, running in front of her holding a handgun.
Oh,
Before Sess
no.
even had time to react to what was happening, Tay allegedly
What
shot her
the
twice.
fuck?
And according to police paperwork,
Nah,
once
Tay
she was
came
already
out
laying
that
on the ground,
cut.
Tay would allegedly stand over her, saying, "I told you, bitch," as he shot her several more times, leaving Sess bleeding out on the street as he next aimed the gun towards her sister and friends who were fleeing the scene in the car. Tay then allegedly shot at the car before fleeing himself on foot. Sess's sister and friends, who had fortunately escaped the scene unscathed, circled the block and then returned to help a wounded Sess, who was then taken to hospital by ambulance. But unfortunately, her injuries were devastating, and at 5:15 a.m., Sess would be pronounced dead. And her murder would be reported the following day by local news, who notified the public that there had been no arrests made so far. However, what we now know is that since the
told
first
you, bitch.
incident report, Tay would be named as the main suspect. And in the days to come, following the murder of
Damn, he 5'8" to 5 or 5'5" to 5'8".
Sess, the police would seemingly find more information about
150 to 180,
Tay, making him a wanted man. However, for the time being, yes, the police would seemingly find more information about Tay, making him a wanted man. However, for the time being, the cops seemingly didn't have enough evidence to bring charges, and Tay would remain free. Meanwhile, Sess would be laid to rest, and her friends would be left to grieve,
Short as
leaving them
hell.
to give their hood a new
Little
name,
ass boy.
Sess World. As far as police were concerned, Tay Savage was the prime suspect in the murder, and as far as the streets were concerned, Tay Savage had taken the first step towards avenging the murder of his friend Welch, with the fact that Tay was believed to be responsible for this brazen assassination circulating widely, with numerous people mentioning in interviews they believed Tay to be the killer of Sess, the mother of rapper Blazing Doll.
The situation with him allegedly killing Blazing Doll mama, I know he killed that girl mama. He shot at me, it hit different.
Tay's reputation as a trigger-happy bully.
That's crazy, bro. They really don't say fucking FYBJ man is snitch because he plays a character. That's the craziest shit.
In the streets of Welch.
Funny as hell,
After
though.
the murder of Sess, all eyes were on
See,
him.
beat that
However,
body.
what would happen months later would end up making Tay Savage one of the most revered gangsters in Chicago history. Just over 2 months after Sess was murdered,
So he got the
on
driver out the
Sunday,
way
10th of April,
who
at
killed
around
Welch.
4:30 p.m., her
About
friend
the
she was
shooter.
rumored to have killed Welch with, Neef, real name Christopher Daniels, was driving his car on the 7400 block of South Vincennes Avenue when he stopped at a traffic light. While he was stopped, the man would exit another vehicle in front of Neef before beginning to fire into the car. According to reports
the
by
fuck?
Chicago
Hit that
police, the
reverse.
shooter was Tay Savage. Neef
Oh!
was to escape the situation by putting his car in
Yeah,
reverse.
yeah.
This would cause him to crash into another vehicle.
Oh,
Meanwhile,
there's
Tay would
traffic.
allegedly keep shooting into the car, hitting Neef several times, and then fleeing the scene with his getaway driver before the police and paramedics arrived. Unfortunately, Neef was already in serious condition and would be pronounced dead.
Damn, was that 5
In
p.m.?
the hospital soon after.
Damn,
This was the
broad
second
daylight?
shooting on the same block within 2 weeks, and one of over a dozen shooting that
2
took place in
weeks?
Chicago over that weekend, leaving some of the locals.
Oh, I thought he was saying fucking Sess died and then 2 weeks after Neef
to
died.
leave their homes and fearful of what was to come next.
That's
While
just
the
in
police
that
were
area.
likely already connecting the
Damn.
dots behind the scenes with regards to
Got the
killing.
shooter out the way now.
For the time being, there was once again
Damn.
no arrests, despite the shooting taking place in front of numerous witnesses. But both the driver and the shooter on the hit were
Like
both
ski
wearing
mask.
ski masks that covered their faces.
Oh,
Again,
shit.
members of the AV and other friends of Neef would react to his death on their social media, seemingly unable to believe that Neef had been taken out so soon after the killing of Sess. Known for riding together and now known for dying together, the
Damn.
loss of Sess and Neef,
Damn.
so close to each other, cemented these two as legends in their hood. And as Neef was laid to rest, the AV adopted the moniker CWNS, meaning Sess World, Neef Streets. Meanwhile, after Neef's death, members of Welch World were also posting. One of them saying how it was time for them to get off the bench and play ball, with another member who would say that they would foul the whole team. To which another member would reply, "Yep, every last one." This seemed to suggest
Oh, nah. They playing basketball? Nah. Get up off that bench. Go play ball.
With another member who would say that they would
Nah.
foul the whole team, to which another member would reply,
They
"Yep,
getting them
every
texts.
last one." This seemed to suggest
Damn.
that Welch World's hitters weren't even done with their revenge campaign, even after killing 2 prominent hitters from the other side and avenging their friend Welch, who the gang had now been named after. They were keen
They take one, we gotta take 2 years.
to keep disrespecting
Oh,
their ops
nah.
and stoking the beef. However, while Welch World was feeling boisterous after allegedly taking out the people who had killed their most loved member, their other enemies were also getting active. According to tweets by Welch World affiliates, about a week after the death of
He's 5'5"?
Tay would be
Nah, 140.
arrested due to being suspected of numerous gun-related.
Bro, I can see the... What's the point of blacking it out? I can see all this. Streeter. Pancake something. I see Daniels, Christopher. That's what, Niece? Neef?
incidents, including the murders of
Government.
Sess and Neef. However, it seemed
That says Low Maxwell.
that the police simply
Yeah,
didn't
same
have
height as
enough
you. I'm
evidence to
taller than
charge
him.
him
Oh,
for those
God.
murders at the time, and
I ain't
instead,
5'5".
he was charged with 2 attempted murders in
I'm a
relation to
grown-ass
other
man.
incidents, leading him to eventually beating those charges, instead receiving an 18-month sentence for aggravated unlawful use of a weapon. This would take him off the streets right when the war in the low end was getting scorching hot.
I had 2 attempts. I beat them in 2012.
Following Tay's arrest,
Damn,
Welch World members would post to social media saying free him and paying respects, posting photos of Tay in jail, and even creating free Tay shirts. Unfortunately, while Tay was incarcerated, the already hot war in Welch World would get even hotter and even more complicated, as rivalries with numerous local gangs would intensify and affiliates would soon begin fighting amongst themselves.
So we an hour in, there's an hour and a half left, and fucking we already got the Tay Savage murders out the way.
With Tay Savage, Welch World's most feared bully, incarcerated, the members of the crew formerly known as So Icy would begin to bicker amongst themselves. One of these members would also post an angry message on Facebook accusing Welch World affiliated rap crew, the Buck 20 Brick Boys, of being fake for not paying for Tay's bond, despite acting like they were making money. The post would even get a reply from a member of their ops, the Av, who would actually laugh at Tay's predicament, saying that she wished Tay would die in jail and that he would be the next one killed. However, while Welch World's beef with the Av was escalating, they were by no means the only ops in the low end. Their other enemies included sets like nearby Lake Park, aka Suwoo, and the 051 Young Money set, with both gangs dissing Welch heavily throughout 2011. In February, following the murder of Cess, a member of Young Money would post a highly disrespectful image of Welch's death site onto his Facebook, and in the comments, a member of Welch World would reply saying that Young Money wanted to be just like them, to which the Young Money member would respond with a direct threat saying he would be dead in 3 days. Rapper Lil Mark from Young Money would also participate in the conversation dissing Welch World, as would a member of Lake Park, who were allegedly already clicked up with Young Money at the time, as was the Av, seemingly cool with both Young Money and Lake Park at this point. So Welch World had a whole collection of gang sets on their case at this time, all while their trigger-happy enforcer Tay was in jail. With that in mind, it was no surprise then that following back-to-back murders avenging Welch, soon Welch World would end up suffering another loss of their own. The month after Neef's murder, on May the 11th, around 4 PM, another beloved member of Welch World called Lil Tim, real name Timothy Wardlow, would be in Lake Park's neighborhood at the 3900 block of South Lake Park Avenue when he was shot and rushed to hospital. He would unfortunately pass away the next day, with some members from Welch World beginning to refer to their area now as Timtown or Dub Club, with Welch World Dub Club sometimes being referred to as WWDC from then on. There wouldn't be any reports of any suspects being captured immediately following the murder, but the police would state that several people were being questioned and a gun had been recovered. Surprisingly, it would turn out that Lil Tim was in fact a cousin of one of the Young Money members.
Driller!
Not just any member, but one of the most famous members, the rapper Driller. In 2014, Driller would even tweet about this fact, saying that it didn't matter because Tim was still an op. But the fact that the Av hadn't allegedly been part of the hit wouldn't stop them from participating in dissing Tim after his death. And after one of the Welch World members would post a tribute to Tim following his death, a member of the Av would comment, saying,
You know what the craziest shit to me is? Like, motherfuckers get on this internet shit to diss the ops. For whatever reason, get on this internet shit to, like, post street shit for 2 likes. Like, bro, keep that shit in your head.
Part of the hit wouldn't stop them from participating in dissing Tim after his death. And after one of the Welch World members would post a tribute to Tim following his death, a member of the Av would comment, saying that Welch World members were sad now, but didn't have any remorse after killing Cess and Neef, and now it was time for war. And wartime it indeed.
Who the fuck is she?
Was.
Like, why is so many females?
Seemingly not retaliated immediately
literally
following
for
the
2
death
likes
of Cess and
and
Neef.
1
They were
retweet.
delighted with the infighting and external beefs that had caused their most hated enemies to lose one of their beloved members. And soon, the Av would be ready to make their own direct retaliation against Welch World for the murders of Cess and Neef. Retaliation that would sadly go wrong, leading to tragic consequences that left an innocent child dead.
What the fuck? Revenge for Cess and Neef.
Years after the deaths of Cess and Neef, people close to them have typically denied that Tay or Welch World in general were behind both or either of these murders. For example, in 2013, another brother of Billionaire Black, called Richie Jerk, would exchange words with a member of the Av on Twitter. First saying, "We made Cess World," to which a member of the Av would reply, "And we made Welch World." But when Richie would say that they also made Neef Street, the Av member would deny this, saying they knew who really killed him. Similarly, years later when the daughter of Cess, rapper Blasian Doll, was interviewed by No Jumper, she would deny the allegation that Tay had killed her mum.
But alright, so I'm sure you're aware of the reputation that your mom has because there's like multiple YouTube documentaries basically telling her story and everything.
But it's
like
like
that.
they not telling it right.
What are they telling
That's
wrong?
not it. I feel like, well, I might as well just say the name since it's like he can cloud me. I feel like Tay, he really like
Tay Savage.
pushing the. He never did it. That's why I keep saying allegedly. You allegedly did it.
However, what we do know from very close sources
Nah, she tried to do that because he tried to trick Tay out of his spot,
is
bro.
that after the murders in 2011,
I know what
the
she's trying to
AV
do.
very much considered Welch World to be responsible for both murders. Because what the AV didn't know at the time was that they actually had a police informant in their circle, a man named Keith Daniels, who was actually the older brother of Neef. According to a Chicago Sun-Times article about Keith Daniels, in May 2011, around the same time when Lil Tim was killed, Daniels was actually arrested for having a gun. Daniels was a drug dealer with many connections to the streets, and to avoid prison, he would begin to cooperate with the FBI, who were at the time focused on catching a gang called the Hobos. They were considered to be one of the most dangerous gangs in Chicago during the 2000s. In the process of informing the FBI about the Hobos, Daniels would also give police information about the AV. According to Daniels, the AV considered Welch World to be directly responsible for killing both Sess and Neef, and they wanted revenge. And they would try and get that revenge on the 3rd of August 2011. Around 5:30 p.m., 16-year-old Steve Barron, an alleged member of Welch World, who had appeared in videos with affiliates of the crew, was hanging at the Metcalf Park near Welch World's hood, a common hangout place for their members. This park itself actually has appeared prominently in numerous music videos from members of Welch World. He was on the basketball court playing with other people from the neighborhood, including a 13-year-old boy called Bebe, real name Darius Brown, a talented young player who, according to his family, lived and breathed basketball. According to Barron, he had just scored and his team was celebrating when a white car rolled down the street next to the basketball court and someone would roll down the window, opening fire, sending everyone on the court running. When the shooting stopped,
bro? Like, that's some movie shit, bro.
Would roll down the window.
Motherfuckers just one day celebrating this shit up. Bro, that's literally like the end of a fucking movie, bro.
Team was celebrating when a white
celebrating this shit, and then just a car slides through. Fucking everybody stops. It's slow motion. The window rolls down. They hang out with a gun. You just hear shots. Everybody run away.
The basketball court, and
That's
someone
just sad.
would roll down the window, opening fire, sending everyone on the court running. When the shooting stopped, Darius had been hit in his neck, and although people in the park tried their best to save his life, he would unfortunately pass away later in hospital. Years later, Darius's mother would give an interview to the BBC.
Why do they got him dribbling up? Oh my god. Why do they got him dribbling up the fucking heaven gates? Yo.
BBC, recalling the events of that
bro, it's not funny, but what the fuck?
On how much violence had gotten worse since her son had killed.
No, Darius has been shot, and I'm like, Darius has been shot. Like, it just didn't. The two didn't go together. I mean, like, he's a kid, 13. And then I'm thinking, okay, he's been shot. Then I'm thinking maybe a BB gun or something like that. I just never imagined that it would be with a real gun, a real bullet.
They had him dribbling up the steps on multiple
It's heartbreaking
photos,
to
bro.
see the violence day after day after day. And like
That
I said,
is
2011, that was
crazy
5 years ago. The violence was not this rampant. And here we are 5 years later, and nothing has changed. In fact, it's gotten worse.
The friends of Darius, many of who were affiliated with Welch World, would begin calling themselves BBG, or Bebe Gang, in his honor. And even TAY...
Wait, they named this shit after a fucking 13-year-old that wasn't in the streets?
...would later recollect on how he used to often hang out in Metcalf Park, even though he didn't play basketball, just to watch Darius play.
I don't even like sports. I used to come up there and just watch Shorty. You feel me? Shorty got nothing to do with nothing. I think he was like 10, 11 at the time. You feel me? And they just shot through the gate, shot. You gotta see the street, bro. The street here is a sidewalk, a gate, a grass, and they just shooting through that bitch and shot Shorty.
The very next day after Bebe's murder, Barron would post on Facebook, swearing to avenge his death. The police, on the other hand, didn't immediately have suspects, but with the help of their informant, Neef's brother Keith Daniels, they would eventually find out that 3 members of the AV were allegedly behind the shooting. Sess's brother, Jamal Streeter, Sess's boyfriend, Aramis Beat.
Like, bro, why couldn't they just use a normal photo for fucking Bebe? Why'd they have to use 4 fucking photos of him dribbling? They even like flipped the picture like so it could look like he's dribbling in both hands. Yo.
And another man named Vito
Bro,
Richmond.
I'm stuck on
the
that
real
shit.
target
That
of the
shit's
shooting
crazy.
had allegedly been Barron due to his close affiliation with Welch World. And TAY would later even respond to rumors in a 16-shot interview that he had been the target of the shooting, even though he was locked up at the time of the incident.
It looked like some people probably like tried to like kill you or something like that, and end up a baby end up dying or something like that.
Yeah, bro, I wasn't even out. That's when Seth's brother and Baby Daddy, one of Baby Daddies, they supposed to shut up a park or something and killed the little boy, little raw ass little hooper, little baby, raw as hell, you feel me? But I wasn't even out, I was locked up.
Oh, so that was like a rumor what they were saying?
Yeah, I went out.
A few days after the shooting, Daniels would hear the AV members talking about the events and passing around a gun that had allegedly been used in the shooting. With money given by the police and a hidden microphone, Daniels would actually then purchase that gun from a member of the AV and bait the suspects into giving a recorded confession. The police would also recover a car used in the shooting and later court documents from the
Wow, they selling dirty guns, bro. Like that's like something like you think about, like if you buying a gun off the street and shit. But bro, for it to actually fucking happen, bro, and you just did a hit with this shit, and you just passing this shit off you selling it to somebody. Like, how damn bad aren't you? Go throw that shit in the fucking Lake Michigan. Right next to the lake.
Would later show
throw that shit there.
And the AV had engaged in a series of back-and-forth shootings following the death of Bebe, which is something that Barron would seemingly later refer to in a Facebook post, saying that when Bebe died, they turned up for him. Meanwhile, after a botched retaliation attempt that killed an innocent child, the AV was still waiting for their most hated rival, TAY Savage, to get back on the streets. In the weeks following the death of Bebe, one of their members would even post a mugshot of TAY to their Facebook with a $sign placed on his forehead, indicating that a price had been put on his head. TAY would soon be out of prison, fresh home, with a price on his head and a serious reputation to live up to. But while TAY had been in jail, something very interesting had happened on the streets of Chicago, as in 2011, a young black disciple from O Block named Chief Keef would begin making waves with his music and videos about his life as a teenage gangster in Chicago's streets, with those videos first going viral locally and eventually all over the world. And within just a few months, the entire world would be watching the Chicago drill scene with interest, as the gang wars in Chicago would become a trending topic, and people all over the world would be tuning in to find out the latest drama on the city's gang-infested streets. And as the world began to learn about the deadly war in Welch World, soon too, the legend of TAY Savage would become a trending topic.
TAY Savage at war with the black
On March the
disciples.
11th, 2012, Chief Keef and Lil Reese will drop the music video for their song I Don't Like on D Gaines' channel, forever changing the Chicago rap scene. This song would be the official debut single from Chief Keef, and it would rack up over 30 million views in just over a year, peaking at number 73 on the Billboard Hot 100 singles charts, going platinum, and even receiving an all-star remix from Kanye West. But more than all of that, Chief Keef's explosive rise to fame would bring the world's eyes and ears to the Chicago streets and the gang conflicts behind the music. Not only did it make Chicago gangs and their members famous all around the world, but the budding music scene would create an opportunity for those young men stuck in the cycle of violence to get out and forge another path through music. Until this moment, it would be hard for many of the lost youth of Chicago to imagine a way out of the streets. But now, rapping was a viable option. Chief Keef was the prime example of someone using their music to find fame and fortune and move out of America's most dangerous city. This was the new environment that TAY would return to after being locked up since early 2011. In February 2012, a Welch World member would post on his Facebook about how TAY was about to have his trial, and eventually TAY would find himself back on
trail.
Would post on his Facebook about
TAY on trail, Tamar. Good luck, my homie. Free my squad, WWDC, Veto Town.
About how TAY was about to have his trial, and eventually TAY would find himself back on the streets of the low end sometime in the latter half of 2012.
Tamar.
Not that much is known about his activities from
Why
this
is
time.
standing
In
like
September,
that?
he would make a
What
Twitter
is that
account using
stance?
the name TAY Badass that he went by at the time, giving
TAY
some
no
insights
lacking
into
badass.
what he was up to during this period. And despite the drill rap craze that had taken over the city, TAY wasn't initially looking to cash in by becoming a rapper.
What made you not interested in making music at that time period? You just wanted to be like one of the homies? You didn't think you had the star potential?
Rapping, not really. I mean, now you can say anything. As you can see, you can say anything, but it wasn't really that easy to me. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I got the thoughts, I got the
Life experience.
Yeah, the life experience. So I should be able to, it's just kind of hard to put it in words and make sense and make you know what I'm saying?
Perhaps due to the stipulations of his release, he was seemingly working a legitimate job and tweeting about how slow the days go by when you're working. However, despite having to get an honest 9 to 5, TAY was still close to many of the key figures in the early drill scene, particularly on the BD side of the BD versus GD's gang war. And he can be seen in old photos from that time hanging out with guys like Lil Reese, who he's still close to.
Damn! He is 5'5". What the fuck?
As well as fallen O-Block members T-Roy and Jay Munna. Tay was also seemingly on positive terms with Chicago rapper Lil Durk, and members of his OTF collective regularly retweeted
I still don't know what
and
happened
he
with
was
them.
commonly speaking with the rapper and fellow low-ender Katie Got Bands from OBN, as well as being in contact with the sister of Tay 600, Mena Red, and sister of King Von, Kayla B. Tay was clearly incredibly social with many of the new legendary figures from the Chicago streets, and he would seemingly have a knack for bringing people together who you might not expect to see in the same place. Tay was also seemingly good friends with guys like THF Bezu and Mubu Crump, and in a now infamous video, they can all be seen in the car together, all of them holding some pretty serious weaponry, ready and armed for the ops.
It's a whole lot of fake
weaponry.
This ain't fake though. That motherfucker ain't fake, man.
That's how we ride.
That ain't fake, man.
Crump would actually tweet about Bezu, saying that he talks a lot about Melly, but Tay had Bezu and Melly in the car together. And Tay would indeed allegedly bring together THF Bezu and 051 Melly, despite both Tay and Bezu being at war with Melly's Young Money set.
Oh, well, that's Melly. He what? Man, he ain't no shit though about the band. He really on. You know, that's they. You know, 'cause they used to be on like 670 East End, but yeah, they ain't really even know who like it's like, you know, the internet. Not everybody know everybody's face. You know what I'm saying?
Despite being fresh home out of jail, he was still trigger happy Tay, and many stories would circulate around this time about the shootouts that Tay had become involved in, with a lot of the violence stemming from the conflicting and confusing relationships Tay had across lines of the many Chicago gang wars. Tay would later open up about his relationship with Melly from 051, Young Money, in interviews, explaining that at first he didn't know anything about Melly, but he would come to know him due to the fact that Melly had a relationship with Welch's baby mother, and that Welch World largely inherited their beef with Young Money from THF 46.
So man, it's a crazy story.
Yeah.
Now look.
That's crazy.
So bam, at first I didn't even know who Melly was, you feel me? But he started Welch baby mama and shit, you feel me? So, you know, bro and them tell me like, man, you know, Melly, cause at first we wasn't even into Young Money. We kinda like inherit that beef through the six. Them the guys, so you know they ain't alright, so we on their ass type. But so she started fucking with him, you know, once it kinda like really started heating up between us.
After getting released from prison, however, Tay would hear rumors about Melly talking about him.
When I had came home, you feel me? Melly ass was just like talking, I guess, sending a lot of threats and stupid. Like a lot of them called me like, yeah, Melly said this, Melly said that. Who the fuck is Melly? He from 051, what the damn. Alright.
Oh, when he was locked up in 2011.
And according to Tay, one night at a club, he would end up running into Motor from Jaro City, who was his old cellmate.
I was locked up with Motor. You feel me? So I kind of had like a little relationship with Motor.
Motor was a good friend of Melly, and the two would end up getting in a conversation about him.
When I come home, I had to be 2 attempts come home, and man, so many motherfuckers they called it to my ear. Melly saying this, Melly saying that, Melly saying then catching Melly. Wow, I don't love. So, man, one day we in a club, I run into Motor. You feel me? We got Reese with us. Now we not knowing that this like Hottie Day or some shit, you feel me? We in deja vu. So, so we see Motor, so I was locked up with Motor, you feel me? So, you know, we rotate with him and shit. He, man, who Reese here with? He here with us. So, you know, man, we on his ass, huh, man? Hey, you feel me? Here with us, good. So we kind of have words with him. Matter of fact, what Melly at anyway, man? I'm studying about this Melly, man. He with you? So folks around, watch the band, my check it. You tell him I'm out here though, dude.
They both would also have other people with them, namely Lil Reese, who was with Tay, and FYBJ Main, who was with Motor.
So we go to the club and shit. So yeah, we had Reese with us that day.
In the club on phone number, I got them members with me. Do your homework on FYBJ Main having members with him, bro. It hit different. Long live Motor, BD Motor. It hit different when it's BD Motor I was with, bro. Nah, we in the club, bro, on phone number doing us. Motor in there, throwing up the trays. Do your homework on throwing up the trays with one hand and cracking them with the other.
What does that mean?
That mean you BD, but you BDK, bro. It hit different, bro.
Okay.
According to Jay Main, Lil Reese had previously come through his hood shooting at them as a result of a family feud they were having, and Jay Main wanted revenge, ultimately confronting Reese in the club.
Now, Reese see me get scared. It hit different when you see Big FYBJ Main, Mr. It hit different in person. Why he scared, Sean? Cause he just came through the hood and la 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 la. So he already know what time it is, bro. It hit different. So on phone him, he see J Main. Mug now, Mug. Why y'all letting them run up on me, man? Why y'all letting them run up on me? Keep in mind, I don't know Tay Savage. From what I'm understanding, I'm guessing he is one of the other individuals who was there. I see red when I see you, so my eyes is focused on him. That's the only person I'm seeing. And he telling security, why y'all letting these walk up on me, man? I know these, man. I know them.
Lil Reese told that to security.
This is what Lil Reese telling security. Now he's backing up behind security. Remember I told you it's some stairs right here.
And then, as both crews were later leaving the club, they would see each other again getting into a shootout, with J-Main ducking under a hail of bullets and somebody shooting back, allegedly shooting Tay Savage in the nose.
After that, goddammit, we leave and they get on us. They fake it on the con. We get into a bang out. They skin my nose. They got what they got, whatever. But
that's the craziest shit, bro. Motherfuckers get shot in their face and you couldn't even tell.
I hear, somebody get shot in their nose, bro. It hit different. We see somebody fall. We jump in car.
The next morning, Tay's uncle would call him.
It
was
sounded
a close friend with Melly's uncle, with both being from Tay's old hood. And the uncles were actually trying to organise a peace treaty between Welch World and Young Money, but Tay wouldn't go for that. However, he would develop a somewhat of a cordial relationship with 051 Melly.
So long story short, my uncles, I got some uncles that's tied in with his uncles. So like the next morning they called me like, man, pull up out the bend. So I pull up, you got your mail and motor in the crib. Matter of fact, he asked me like, man, you had a situation last night on me. Yeah, walk the bend, man, pull up on me, I need to holler at you. So I pull up, you feel me? He got motor in the hood and your mail in the crib. Y'all need to squash that shit, out the bend. So I tell him, I got some respect for my uncle, you feel me? So I tell him like, man, look, between me and him, it could be like, you know, like cordial, you feel me? But, you know, ain't no, it's blood. So ain't no squashing. So that's really what it was, you feel me? I stayed on 670 East End for so long, and his uncle's from there, so, you know, we'll be going in and out the crib, and he'll be there. So we, you know, rotate with him. So my uncle tied in, you feel me? So they like, yeah, that's out the band, whoa, y'all should squash it. They was really trying to make us like squash the whole war. But I'm like, bro, you feel me? It's blood, and I can't. And then, you know, we walk with the 6, and like, I ain't gonna be able to do that. But I'm like, but with me and him, like, we could be cordial, you feel me? Like, we could be cordial. Like, I see him, it ain't gotta be no shots fired or no like that or whatever, and vice versa. So, like I say, I low-key stayed on the block where they used to hang. So I used to pull up, and Melly used to be out there with his uncles and and we'd chop it up.
But the friction between Tay and 051 Young Money wasn't the only famous beef he had in Chicago during this time. Tay was clearly a big fan of the new drill wave, particularly Chief Keef's music, often tweeting his lyrics. However, Tay's personal relationship with Chief Keef's Glory Boys group and their members was a little more complicated, and there were several indications that there might have been some issues between these two crews. In one old screenshot from Tay's Instagram posted by Redditors, he was seemingly implying that he had beaten up and robbed GBE member Taydo of his chain and watch. Tay would later address these rumors in a 16-shot interview, admitting that there had been an altercation between the two, but denying ever robbing him.
Because I had seen something, they said some, like you had robbed him or something?
Yeah. Hell nah, I ain't potato.
Was it like an altercation at all? Like what?
It was a little altercation. Got really blown out of proportion. Tato, I do.
Another rumor would also claim that Tay had beaten up Ball Out and
Ball
robbed his
Out.
chain. Again, Tay would comment on this rumor in his DJU interview, calling it a misunderstanding.
And they said something about robbing Ball Out?
They say it like that.
Man, yeah, that was some
Allegedly?
Yeah, that was some allegedly. But it was really just really a misunderstanding with that. You feel me?
Yeah.
But
That man Taylor
Then,
taken.
on yet another occasion, Tay's close
Chains,
friend
watches,
would tweet to
matter.
GBE Capo, accusing him of dissing Welch and threatening to beat him up like they did Ball Out. However, there was
shit.
seemingly never anything past these few skirmishes, and recently Tay appeared to be hanging out with both Chief Keef and Taydo at a club together with Lil Reese. In many ways, Tay had
There you
become
go.
the connector between many of the fractured and warring gang sets all over Chicago. And these friendships, as well as the altercations and his reputation as a bully, made him a legendary figure in the
Yo.
Chicago drill scene.
They made me drop motherfucking interviews. He ain't tell me stories. That
However,
shit
it
funny
would
as
be years
hell.
before he made the decision to enter the rap scene himself, and for the time being, he would continue to
Then was Tato the one on that one Trippie Red song?
cultivate a serious reputation for him.
I feel like that was Tato. Hang on, let me look. Tato is a crazy name. Could be Red Tato? It was? Yup, Chief Keef. Damn, 74 million?
Himself in the street.
That was the last time I heard of
rather than in
Tato.
the studio.
Real. The murder of Snoop in creation
Despite
of
the rise of Chicago
757.
drill music in 2011 and 2012, Welch World's own rappers, the Buck 20 Brick Boys, were beginning to go their separate ways around this time, with Billionaire Black beginning to associate much more with the gangster disciples from
Damn, he got
63rd,
fat.
like FBG Duck and Lil J. So at the time, Welch World would have relatively little representation in the city's now booming rap scene, with one artist called Lodi Bay, who would unfortunately not gain much
King of drum
popularity
music?
despite some undeniable talent.
Yeah, I mean, who else is there to say? He created. He didn't create drum music, but he made it what it is today. He damn near the creator of
Be
it.
one of their few new representatives in
One of the
music
first to
at this
blow up
time.
off of
But
it.
what is clear from the social media activities of Welch World members is that they were still heavily involved in the low-end gang war in this period, and the alliances that were formed before and during Tay's incarceration were still the same, with Welch World still being close allies with THF-46 and OBN, or the Oak Boy Nation, who was heavily allied with Welch World under their 0439 joint gang set, which combined both sets' main streets, 43rd and 39th. And they were still beefing with the same sets, including 051 Young Money, the Rock Boys, Lake Park, aka Suwoo or TTB, Lawless, and of course, the Av. And it seems that the war in the low end was still preoccupying Tay Savage's everyday activities. Another Tay, Tay 600, who himself has ties to Welch World, would later reminisce in his YouTube storytime video about Tay Savage how Tay would even try and recruit members from his 600 set to Welch World, particularly one of their biggest savages, D Rose, who was made famous in the drill scene by Chief Keef, who would
Damn, he was trying to get that free agent.
Main shooters in the early songs.
Nah, he tried to recruit D Rose.
From his hood.
Nah, he creating
Cousin
super
two
teams.
black, He pulled up to my crib and was looking for D Rose. He said, man, I'm BD. This man told me, he said, I ain't gonna lie, on Welch, I want him. I want Rose. Tell Rose I said, hit my line, man.
Look, he a
Tell
GM.
Rose I said, come me on BD. He said he got pipe, everything D Rose want on BD, whatever Rose want.
yeah.
He got it for him. He gonna
Nah.
put Drake in his hand. He gonna put Drake.
They said, I'll give you whatever. I just need you on my side. I'll pass you the semis. I don't give a fuck. Whatever you need. I got the max contract right here. I just need you to sign that shit.
30, whatever he want, whatever
That's
Rose
insane.
wants, he got it for Rose. And I'm just looking like, man, boy, don't video back at the phone, boy. That Rose, our slider, he's sliding for us on King, baby. King gonna
That's
be on.
crazy.
Oh, here I'm talking for Rose and shit on BD whole time. Rose on BD, he probably would have rolled around with Taker. Rose
Damn.
like other gangsters too, folks. On BD, but Rose like other gangsters too on King David, folks. This man come to my crib trying to recruit D Rose, folks. It's just like, I'm just like,
That's the
damn,
craziest
BD,
shit.
That shit mean that much to you, folks? Like, you don't got enough savages, enough guns, enough this and that. You feel me? Like, you just want more.
Where's he recording this shit at? Is he in jail?
Artillery, more
I'm seeing the fucking all white room. I'm seeing whatever this shit is. I'm pipe. Damn.
savages in your circle, more demons.
Too much going on.
In your vicinity.
And it's
on
all
BDE recruiting the gangsters.
Meanwhile, Welch World's ops, particularly the Av, were equally invested in the war, promising on Twitter to drop bodies before the end of 2012. It would appear in the face of this complicated war, Welch World's ops were also clicking up. With all of these gang sets going against Welch World, the Av, aka FTB or Free the Burr, the Rock Boys or Rock Nation, Lawless, aka Jamar World, aka the Booney Boys, 051 Young Money,
Booney
and Lake
Boys.
Park, aka Suwoo, aka TTB or Train to Blow, all being seemingly very close to
TTB Train to Blow. Like, come on,
each other,
bro.
with three of them, the Av, the Rock Boys, and
Oh,
Lawless, being particularly close to each other.
Oh, you gotta get a new name.
My boys beyond that, it's Young Savage, man. Else. You already know how we rock, man. That old bitch, man. OT5, man. Tomorrow, we look, bitch. You know how we rock. Saturate these streets, man. We out here, man. Squad. Else, no O's, man. Eat the ass. Else. Like what? Squad. BBG, man.
Oh, that squad shit, bro. I remember, bro, in the fucking hallway, the motherfuckers would just scream that shit. They would just be saying squad. Bro. I swear I remember
in May
that shit.
2013, something would happen that would arguably make all of these gangs even closer, as a beloved member would lose their life, and these gangs would formally build an alliance against their enemies. Tory Stewart, aka Snoop, not to be confused with another Snoop that we'll discuss later, was a
I'm about to say, weren't we talking about the murder of Snoop or some shit? Maybe not.
college student majoring business who dreamed of getting into home renovation after
Studying
graduation.
business.
However, Snoop also had past ties to the streets. He grew up in the Lawless Gardens and was part of the Lawless set, even honoring their dead members in his social media handles. In 2011, a 17-year-old Snoop and his friend were arrested during a traffic stop for having an automatic weapon and drugs packaged for sale. Unfortunately, right when he was seemingly about to turn his life around, tragedy would strike. When on the 20th of May 2013, at around 8:20 p.m., a freshly turned 20-year-old Snoop was driving in his car in the Lake Meadows neighborhood just north of Bronzeville, when somebody would open fire, shooting at his car several times, with one of the bullets reportedly hitting him in the head. Snoop was taken to hospital in critical condition, but would unfortunately be pronounced dead that night around 11:40 p.m. Snoop's family would later give an interview to a newspaper telling them how they used to frequent the park that Snoop was killed in front of, with this park being close to the Lawless Gardens where they used to live. After Snoop's death, members of Lawless, as well as Rock Boys and the Av, would pay their respects on social media. They would even release a song that Snoop had made before his death with a Young Money member by the name of Rilla. This would be later followed by other songs dedicated to Snoop, including his friend Hard Knock's song Lil N-Word Snoop, and Young Savage featuring Booney Boy Mook's song Bitch We Snoop, where they would diss their ops, including Welch World. Meanwhile, Welch World rapper Lodi Bay would repeatedly diss Snoop on Twitter and insinuate that Welch World had something to do with his murder. The Chicago police were also seemingly treating Snoop's death as connected to the war with Welch World, listing his homicide as a reference in their reports regarding the murder of Sex. This would later lead to some Redditors believing that TAY Savage himself might have killed Snoop, while others would rightfully challenge such claims, suggesting that TAY would have been arrested for the crime if there was genuine evidence proving his involvement. But in any case, Snoop's death took place around the time as three of Welch World's main ops, Lawless, the Rock Boys, and the Av, had allegedly decided to make their alliance more official. And so, sometime after Snoop's death, they began to refer to themselves as 757 on social media and in songs. With this name, the result of them using the last number of each set's main street to create a new name. The Rock Boys, who reside at 27th Street and State Street, Lawless, who reside at 35th Street and Rhodes Avenue, and the Av, who reside at 37th Street.
They linking up now?
Take the last number of each of those streets, and you got 757. Soon, also Welch World would get word about this new 757 alliance.
Linking up.
Interestingly, when TAY would finally become a rapper years later, he would actually post a story on his Instagram insinuating that he had created 757, adding yet more fire to the rumors that he may personally have been behind the death of Snoop. Whether or not these rumors are true, there's one thing that cannot be denied, and that's the fact that TAY Savage was incredibly active in the streets during this period. However, unfortunately for him, his activities would be attracting the attention of the authorities, and they were just one step behind, waiting for him to slip up. And when he did, even if they couldn't get him for murder, they would make sure that they would put him away for as long as possible.
The armed robbery that got TAY 20
By summer
years.
2013, something strange was happening in Welch World. Tweets would circulate suggesting that the streets had been quiet and that the only people out spinning the block for the gang was TAY Savage. Clearly, TAY was active in the streets around this time. But so
I was giving his credit.
Spinning the block for the gang was TAY Savage. Clearly,
man, I was just with he your only shooter. Marco locked up. He just said y'all ain't on none. Cut the flexing out. On Cease grave, I was outside on the block all yesterday. Only motherfuckers rode through was MTG and TAY from Welch World. Damn.
Was active in the streets around this time.
That's what I be saying, bro. People be saying like TAY a bully and shit. Even the ops giving credit.
So were the police, who had likely been
they
paying
ain't gotta
very
do that.
close attention to TAY ever since his name first
That's
came
how
up
true it
in
is.
relation to the murder of Cess 2 years earlier. At the end of July 2013, TAY would be suddenly taken into custody after being asked by his parole officer to come to his office.
Where were you at when you got arrested?
When I got arrested for that, my parole officer said he needed to see me. So I went to go holler at him, and they locked me up.
About a week after being taken into custody on the 6th of August, TAY is revealed to be a suspect in an armed robbery and vehicular hijacking case that took place on the 16th of July. TAY and his co-defendant had allegedly approached 2 victims, telling them, "You know what this is," while displaying a handgun. They ordered the victims to the ground and went through their pockets.
Gun to your face, you know what this is.
Afterwards taking off in one of the victims' car, a 1985 Chevy Monte
Man,
Carlo.
what
One of the victims would later
It's
identify
2013,
TAY in both
2014.
photo array and a physical lineup.
Damn.
Interestingly, this alleged robbery took place practically in the heart of Welch World, almost exactly in the middle of their supposed 40th to 43rd Street territory. Later,
Damn.
TAY would reveal during his Say Cheese interview that one of the victims in this case was in fact a brother of a known Chicago rapper, C. Honcho.
And the people who identified you was C. Honcho's brother? He was one of the guys?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so he was like a witness type.
Nah, he was a victim.
A victim, my bad, a victim.
Yeah, he pointed me out.
Nah.
Saying that I poked him. The other guy that was with him
victim.
was a regular civilian. He like a police officer.
However,
Damn.
TAY's case wouldn't be considered newsworthy until November. According to police reports, on the 4th of November, when TAY was in custody, detectives would indeed take him to be interviewed regarding the murder of Sess, which would prompt TAY to ask the detectives what had taken them so long to finally come and get him. TAY would deny his involvement in the murder of Sess, but he would...
Oh, he probably saying that, like, not that he did it, like, I did it, like, y'all took too long to get me. He's like, nah, like, it's been 2 years. Now y'all want to arrest me for this shit?
Detectives that one of
Y'all
the
know my
theories
name.
was that Sess and Neef had killed his friend Welch. Soon after, he would invoke his right for attorney, and the interrogation was terminated. 2 days after that interview, on the 6th of November 2013, the news would report that he would officially have been charged for the murder of Sess, and his mugshot would be circulated in Chicago news articles all about the murder. After this, TAY's cases would seemingly move slowly, during which time he would remain in jail, while his friends would post on social media demanding his release. However, in March 2014, local news would suddenly report that TAY would also be charged with the murder of Neef. Once again, a police report would reveal a movie-like situation leading up to this charge, with TAY telling the investigators who came to interview him, "Guess y'all right when you said you'd come back for me." TAY was then
Damn! Nah, they didn't make a movie on this shit.
From a photo, and he would tell them that he
Oh,
knew Neef,
fuck.
but was not friends with him.
Where
The
50
detectives
at?
would also question TAY about his tattoos, one of them involving bullet cartridges and smoke, inferring that these tattoos were hinting towards his activities in the streets. Next, an interesting episode would occur, as TAY, or Dwayne, would try to deny that he was known by any nicknames. Most likely, knowing that one of the things that had since the beginning tied him to the murders was his nickname TAY, as several witnesses and other sources had since the beginning of the investigation named the suspect as TAY. Things would get uncomfortable for TAY when detectives would then talk to his mother, who would probably, without realizing how such a small detail could hurt him, tell the detectives that he was indeed known by the nickname TAY. The detectives would also show TAY videos from YouTube of him participating in gang-related activities and being armed with a handgun. As far as the detectives were concerned, they had their man, so they would press forward, with TAY opting to take these murder charges to a trial, a grueling process which he would elaborate on extensively in a Say Cheese interview. TAY would explain the order of the trials, with Sess's murder trial being first, lasting for less than a week.
Which trial was first, Sess or Neef?
They gave me Sess. I did Sess body first.
How many days does this trial last?
They was quick. They was like, I think a jury trial usually be like 7 days. I think mine was like 4 days.
4 days for trial?
TAY would explain how several
That
witnesses
shit last
pointed
weeks.
to him as the suspect, but other witnesses pointed also to other suspects, and ultimately the shooter was wearing a mask, which helped his case.
The reason why they charged because they had several people pointing me out on both cases. Several people pointing me out saying that I did.
And the thing about trial is like, what's a jury? Like 12? You gotta have 12 people all in agreement that you're found guilty. If there's one person that says not guilty, you're found not guilty. So it's like, I don't know, like trial's tough.
Several people pointing me
Trial's
out
tough.
on both cases. Several people pointing me out.
You just gotta have
saying
one
that I
person.
did.
You
That
gotta
was with the
sway one
witness
person's mind the other way
pointing me out
if
saying,
you are
"He did,
guilty.
he did, he did." You know what I'm saying? And
You just
I
gotta
beat
have
it
one person
because
believe you're
whoever
not
did
guilty.
it had on the mask.
Apparently the witnesses were the people who were with Sess in the car at the time of her murder, and they all claimed to know that TAY did it. But ultimately, since the shooter who did the murder was wearing a mask, he could not be identified.
Them was the people that was with her that was saying I did it. Like, I think her sister, a few of her friends, all of them was saying they went to high school with me and everything, and they knew that I did it. You know what I'm saying? But I say, how I beat it was because whoever did it had a mask. So you saying I did it, but how did you say I did it? Whoever did it had on the mask.
However, it's worth noting that in the original suspect description, the mask was seemingly never mentioned by witnesses. Tay would tell Say Cheese that when he got his not guilty verdict, he was smiling and felt like he had been blessed.
Man, I was just smiling. That's a blessing. I was just smiling. I was excited, you know what I'm saying?
You still got another bite to beat.
With that, it can always go either
wouldn't.
way. If you're innocent, if you're guilty or whatever, it still can go either way.
No matter if you're guilty or innocent.
12 people that's on the stand that know nothing about the law. You know what I'm saying? So they
literally.
It's just who tell the best story between the lawyer and the states.
Despite this miraculous not guilty
facts.
result, things were far from done. And according to Tay's No Jumper interview, Tay demanded a speedy trial in the case of Sess's murder. And when he beat it, prosecutors then decided to make an unusual move, bringing the robbery charges next, in the hopes that they might have time to find more evidence ahead of the Neef murder trial.
I demand speedy trial on the murder. Boom, now they come put another murder on. Before I could beat it, they put another murder on. So now I beat that murder. So now the states got they got the luxury to pick which cases. I'm fighting 2 cases. They could pick what case they want to trial first. So they elect on the robbery.
Which is weird, because you would think robbery, murder. You booking for a murder? Man, smack him on a life sentence, 60 years, something. That's all you need. You don't even need the robbery no more. Going for the robbery first, it's like, okay, he got like 4 years. And then you want to go for the murder? Nah.
Because I'm fighting 2 cases, they could pick what case they want to trial first. So they elect on the
Don't
robbery.
make no sense.
Which is kind of weird. Like, it's a murder. Why you don't do the murder first?
Yeah.
And then, in a surprising turn of events, one of Tay's baby mothers and 3 of his Welch World associates would end up getting tied into the case, as they would be arrested and charged with witness intimidation around late November 2014. According
what,
to
the
court
robbery?
proceedings from their cases, they had made indirect threats to one of the victims in Tay's carjacking case, implying that he would be shot if he moved forward with his plan to act as a witness in Tay's upcoming trial. They were also allegedly involved in shooting the victim's brother, who had fortunately survived with just a hand shot. And later, they allegedly terrorized the victim's mother and aunt by coming to the victim's property armed with a gun. As police arrived to the scene, they would find and arrest the 4 defendants and recover a 9mm handgun. Following his
They
friend's
trying to get
failed
that shooter
attempt to
out.
violently silence
They
a
need
witness,
'em.
not to mention the terrible effect that this new witness intimidation charge would have on his reputation at the upcoming trial, Tay would ultimately end up copping to a guilty plea in the robbery and carjacking case before things got any worse for him at trial. And Tay would later tell 16 Shot 'em in an interview that he was confident at first, but when his friends caught those charges, he had to change his plan.
They locked my baby mama up and 3 of the guys. So I really was like, Frank, we gonna beat this. But then some of the guys got locked up for tampering with the witness.
Ah, shit. So it's like, okay.
I think like both of them.
It's like, we had a good case, but then y'all fucking it up by like catching charges. Now they can prove that you were at her house and like you're witness tampering. That makes me look guilty. So it's like,
Got shot. Both of my victims
I gotta
got
do what I
shot,
gotta do.
And they was trying to
But
connect
the
it to me.
victim,
And
yeah.
so Frank just like,
They gonna make it
"Oh,
look
cop out,
good.
there's too much going on. They got locked up and they get the running.
They fucking
It was
up.
a lot
They
of-
doing
The
they
state
doing
would
so
seemingly
much.
make an example of Tay
'Cause
since
y'all
they
got
couldn't
caught.
get him on the Sess murder, with the court dealing out a monster sentence of 20 years for this robbery, despite the prosecution dropping the original aggravating factor of using a firearm.
The craziest shit, bro, is they hijacked the car, bro. They did that shit at gunpoint.
However,
Like, bro, if you need a car, you can go take one off the side of the
But due
road,
to
bro.
Illinois' truth in sentencing law, Tay would only have to serve
understand
50%
that
of his sentence, which would still take an entire decade off his life. But despite this huge sentence, Tay claimed that this was all a tactical move in his No Jumper interview, suggesting that he wanted to get that case out the way, otherwise the state might have had him waiting as many as 6 years just to face trial before he could then face his next trial for the Neef
Damn.
murder.
So I cop out to that.
And
So
they
I
can
pray
get
to
all
God
that
I win,
evidence.
'cause I don't want to, stall 3, 4, 5, 6 years on the robbery. Few people
Right.
saying you did. They ain't had no on me on the robbery. They ain't had no. They said I robbed somebody, took their car. They ain't had nothing. They just had the 2 people they said I robbed pointing me out saying that I did. That's all they had. I guess that's enough to convict you.
Wow.
So I just copped out 20 at 50 on that.
So even with a 20-year sentence on him, Tay still had a murder case to beat. The Neef murder trial was next, and once again, there were witnesses who claimed that Tay was the shooter in a lineup.
Now the next,
I bet he's looking at it like, I know, like they don't get me on this fucking murder. I know, you feel me? They gonna hit me with some crazy shit. So it's like the robbery, 20 on 50. That's fine. Fuck it.
was
Run them
Neef.
just consecutively. I'll be out maybe in 15, 20 years for the murder too.
Neff, and this happened in traffic.
Yeah.
And this one had witnesses too.
Yeah.
And all the witnesses claimed the guy had a mask on.
No, at first, some of them were saying that I did. They said my name, pointed me out of the lineup.
But despite seemingly strong witness testimony against Tay, the case had appeared weak since the beginning, with the detectives failing to even recover rather basic information such as Tay's Facebook account. Moreover, the gun recovered during Tay's robbery and carjacking case would not be a match for the gun used in the murder of Neef, closing yet another crucial lead that could have tied Tay to the murder. The police would also struggle to get the friends of Neef to help the investigation by testifying, and most importantly, once again in the Neef murder, the suspects, since the beginning, were reported to have been wearing ski masks, again making facial identification by witnesses practically impossible. Now that hits different when making facial
black hoodie, hat,
identification
by
witnesses.
The hat is the black ski mask. Okay.
Impossible. Now that hits different when you realize that Tay actually has a tattoo of 2 masks with text saying, "Live now, die later." But hey, I'm sure that's just a coincidence. Anyway, despite the prosecution seemingly first attempting to claim that witnesses had recognized Tay as the assailant during a lineup, the fact was the shooter had concealed their identity with a mask. And it turned out that the witnesses only recognized Tay in general, and this is a contradiction with the fact that the shooter wore a mask, destroying the prosecution's argument completely.
You know how sometimes it'll be a police report. Now you can't always go out the police report because the police report is just what the police story. The police ask, did you know anybody in lineup? Which the police do that sometimes. They'll ask you, like, if you know anybody in lineup, then you say him. You know what I'm saying? Then they circle it and put your initial by it. They'll like trick you with their words or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I just know I beat it.
Thus, in the end, the case would turn out to be much like the first one. There simply wasn't enough evidence to place Tay specifically at the scene beyond a reasonable doubt, and once again, Tay would walk away with yet another
Why they be showing this picture of him smiling?
not guilty verdict. Thus, despite ending up with 20 years for robbery,
That shit is such a stupid photo. Like, why did he take a photo? Like, he's supposed to take it with the city behind him. He did that shit with like it's showing the background of like the next apartment and shit, or the B&B, whatever it is.
Thus, despite
hotel.
ending up with 20 years for robbery, Tay had beaten both of the murder charges against him, scoring a miraculous result. And his lawyer would even victoriously post the result on their website, boasting how he had gotten his client 2 not guilty verdicts on murder cases in less than an hour. Now, Tay had actually employed the services of one of the top 10 defense lawyers in the state of Illinois, Frank J. Himmel, later telling his IG Live followers that he thanks 2 people for beating his murders, God and Frank Himmel.
I ain't beat that case because was keeping it honey because he was telling bitches and
how much that shit cost
don't
though?
come to court. I beat them bitches because God and Frank Himmel.
But this bulletproof defense did not come cheap, and Tay would later open up about murder cases costing as much as $40,000 to defend against, shouting out his lawyer Frank for looking out for him and not demanding upfront payment, with Tay suggesting that he is still paying for his legal fees today, long after his release.
How much did you spend on a lawyer for all this?
So that's the thing. A murder, at least $30,000 for one murder. You know what I'm saying?
It'd be 2.
Frank was so locked in with me. You know, he was with me. You know, like when I first got locked up, you know, we was paying or whatever. But you know, people started getting locked up.
You just got like, I think it's like weekly payments or monthly payments, some shit.
Started dying and everything, but he was locked in with me, so I still owe him. When I get some paper, I still owe him.
Ultimately, though, no matter the cost, you can't put a price on freedom. And Tay Savage had truly been
100%. That's his life.
Not guilty verdicts on 2
don't matter how much
murder charges, all while numerous people with connections to the incident swore they knew Tay was the killer. Unfortunately for them, however, whoever that masked shooter was that killed Sess and Neef knew exactly how to cover their tracks perfectly. However, due to the sloppiness of the armed robbery case, the Chicago police had finally gotten trigger-happy Tay off the streets with a monster 20-year sentence. And so from 2014 to 2022, Tay would settle in to a long stay in prison, counting down the days until he would be unleashed back onto the streets of Welch World, with one of the most jaw-dropping backstories the Chicago drill scene had ever heard. Tay would claim...
Oh shit, I'm supposed to read that. How Tay Savage served a 20-year sentence in 8. Oh shit, I muted it? My bad. Alright, let's do that again.
Tay would claim that despite receiving a 20-year sentence for armed robbery, he would only really have to do 10, and ultimately ended up getting out even earlier after just 8 years and 9 months with good behavior and after getting his GED.
Yeah, that's what I fuck with Tay, because Tay was saying like, oh, like, even in Cook County, I wasn't really fighting in there, like, I didn't have to do too much. Like, he just really a laid-back character and, like, super down-to-earth. Like, I just fuck the way he carry himself. He not in that bitch like J-Mane fucking screaming, yelling, trying to get his point across. He just He just quiet. He just do his thing, do whatever. And he was saying in jail like he was just reading. He was doing cosmetology classes, got his GED, shit like that. Like he was actually doing good for himself. So maybe fucking prison for one of the only times actually helped somebody.
That was 10 years.
That shit's rare.
2 years in already. I actually got out early, cause I supposed to just be out like yesterday. I supposed to get out like yesterday.
Really?
Yeah, but with good time, I got my GED in jail and all.
How long?
I had 20 at 50 for armed robbery. They dropped it down to armed robbery, no firearm. They dropped the gun enhancement because it's a 21-year gun enhancement. So now it's a 6 to 30. They gave me 20 at 50. With good time, school and good time and all that, I knocked it down to like 8 years. 8 years and 9 months.
So, Tay would truly be able to beat the odds if he didn't get into too much trouble in jail. But even having to deal with a minimum term of 8 years and 9 months, Tay Savage would be settling into his life in prison for the foreseeable future. And he had been seen in pictures taken behind the wall, seemingly in good spirits. And even his ops from 757 would tweet saying that they missed Tay being on the streets and suggesting that gang life is boring when their top op is no longer around. Going on to say free Tay so that they can kill him and that they still have smoke waiting for him when he gets out. Some even suggesting that Tay is Welch World's only hitter and that the beef had died down since he had been incarcerated. But that wouldn't be entirely true. Murders would still be taking place on the streets of Welch World while Tay was locked up. On August the 15th, 2014, 25-year-old Walter Neely, known by friends simply as Walt, was out with a friend late at night in Bronzeville going to pick up some milk for his daughter. They were a block away from the Chicago Police headquarters, which would usually be one of the most safe places in Bronzeville. However, Walt was an alleged member of Welch World, and here he was literally surrounded by enemies from almost all directions, with the Avs hood being less than a mile to the south, Lawless's hood being about half a mile to the east, and the Rock Boys about a mile north. According to news reports, while on the street, someone would approach Walt and his friend on foot and begin shooting at them. According to Walt's family, at this point Walt had told his friend to run, while Walt himself seemingly stayed in place, ready to take on the attacker. Unfortunately, sometime later, Walt would be found by the police with a shot to his abdomen. According to the medical examiner, Walt would be pronounced dead about half an hour later in the hospital, but according to his mother, he was already dead on the scene. Afterwards, Welch World members and affiliates would once again pay their tributes on social media. Meanwhile, Walt's family would tell the newspapers how Walt had had a criminal past.
Damn, we got an hour left?
He had since turned his life around and was passionate about drawing art. However, clearly, for the
he's
enemies
locked
of Welch
up.
World, Walt was still very much an active member, and there wasn't a shortage of 757 members dissing him after his death. And as soon as the news was out, 757 members were claiming to be smoking Walt and Welch, with some asking if the W that Welch World members were rocking is for Welch or for Walt now, and mocking them, saying that it certainly doesn't stand for winning given how they were taking losses in the streets. While others were simply implying that they were gathering W's, both literally and figuratively. Some even posted vines saying that they were smoking on Walt. There would also be insinuations that Walt had perhaps been dissing Cess and had even come to his ops hood looking for trouble, like Welsh had allegedly done before his death, with his ops comparing the two on Twitter and saying that they went out the same way. These tweets are certainly making 757 look responsible, but despite the close proximity of the murder scene to the police headquarters, it at first seemed like there were no suspects, with posters asking for tips being placed around the neighborhood. However, about a month later, the news would report that 2 teens had been arrested and charged with the murder. Ironically, like Cess and Neef, another boy-girl duo of shooters. These teens were Kenneth Brown and Dreana Grooms, both only 16. Kenneth was known in the streets as Snoop and lived in the Avs neighborhood, not to be confused with the other Snoop from Lawless, who was killed in 2013, and Dre, who lived in the Rock Boys' Dearborn Homes projects. After these charges, 757 members would post again, lamenting the arrest of these young gunslingers from their block,
you see,
even accusing people of snitching, and
got 6 retweets, no likes. 2 retweets, 1
continuing
like.
to diss Walt. Dre and Snoop would seemingly remain locked up while fighting their charges until almost 3 years later in
Wait, what if they got that shit upside down? What's that shit called? Not Chrome Hearts. Fucking Como des Garçons. Isn't that the shit? Isn't that the brand name?
2017. 757
the little heart with the eyes and it's upside down.
That they had actually beaten their charges, receiving guilty verdicts, and would be.
I got 5 likes on that one.
A few days later, something had seemingly changed, and it now looked like Snoop wouldn't be getting out at all, even after beating the murder charge. Dre, on the other hand, was freed and welcomed home by other members, and she would eventually get back on social media to celebrate her freedom. But the real shock would come several years later in 2021, when local news and eventually even magazines like Variety would report that Dre's life and fight against these murder charges would be being made into a movie titled after her real name, starring
the
actors
fuck?
like Wanmi Mosaku from HBO series Lovecraft Country. Now, since then, there's been little updates about the movie, which appears to still be in production, but I've got no doubt that there's a lot more to this story, and a gritty movie charges would be being made in magazines like Variety would report that Dre's life and fight against these murder charges would be being made into a movie titled after her real name, starring actors like Wanmi Mosaku from HBO series Lovecraft Country. Now, since then, they're starring fight to get back on social media to celebrate her freedom, but the real shock would come several years later in 2021 when local charges Mosaku from HBO series Lovecraft Country. There's a lot more to this story, and a gritty movie based on a teenage female shooter from the low end is something I would definitely watch. But anyway, back to the story. Coming into 2015, Welch World would suffer another major loss, although this time it would be from their closest ally, OBN, who still ran with Welch World under their 4390 alliance. Boss Rel had barely turned 16, but he was already a well-respected member in both sets, having been in the streets, getting in trouble since 13, and joining a gang at 15 according to his family. Boss Rel was particularly close with the Welch World rapper Lodi Bay, and the two would often be seen together, whether in the streets or the studio. However, according to Rel's family, they had moved away from their old home in the former Ida B. Wells homes to get away from the gang lifestyle, after Rel's older brother had become an unintended victim of gang violence, getting killed by a stray bullet when he was just 13. Unfortunately, this wasn't enough to keep Rel from returning to hang out with his old friends in Bronzeville, which would eventually lead to his death. On the night of the 12th of January 2015, Boss Rel, real name Terrell Campbell, was walking on the OBN's main street, 39th, also known as Pershing Road, when he was reportedly approached by two males who would open fire, hitting Rel several times. He was transported to hospital, but would eventually pass away from his injuries. Later, during his memorial, Rel's mother would reportedly struggle to come to terms with the image that the police had painted of her son, claiming that he was actually a hardened gangster who had been terrorizing the neighborhood for years with his friends despite his young age. And unfortunately, the terror suffered by Chicago neighborhoods was only going to increase moving towards 2016, as the murder rate began to rise sharply.
The murder was down in like 2010 all the way to 2016. And they just turned up. What the fuck? What is that, like 800? Damn.
5 months later, in June of 2015, the 757 side would experience a loss that would have a huge impact on them, losing another loved member before they would even see adulthood too. Sunno was another young but well-respected member who had been part of the Rock Boys for years, despite being only 17. Sunno could often be seen dissing Welch by dropping the W hand sign, and he was seemingly very close with many members of the AV. Later, some Redditors have also claimed that it was actually Sunno who killed Boss Rel, as well as having killed another member of Welch World. In the summer of 2015, violence was rising in the city of Chicago once again, and in the early morning hours of Saturday the 6th of June, Sunno and his 757 friends were out at a party in the Bridgeport neighborhood close to their Dearborn homes stomping grounds. However, after they left the party, around 2 a.m., an SUV reportedly pulled up next to their car and let off shots. They would drive away for a short moment before two males exited the vehicle wounded. The police would find Sunno, real name Richard Edwards, unresponsive after being hit by a bullet in the armpit. Sunno would die at the scene, and his lifeless body would be left covered with a white blanket until detectives could finish their investigation, leaving his mother, who had arrived at the scene, devastated and unable to hold her son. And video of the absolutely devastating scene as Sunno's mother is being held back was captured and posted on Twitter by a news journalist.
Let me go! Let me go, Daddy! Let me go! Let me go, Daddy! Let me go! Let me go! Let me get him! Get me up! Get me up! No, Daddy! No! No!
Was it sad?
No! No!
The loss of Sunno hit 757 hard, and already later that morning, rapper Munno would tweet a tribute to his friend, vowing revenge, and others would follow, even reminiscing of a time when they had slid through their ops hood, including Welch World. And seemingly only a few days after Sunno's death, they had renamed their hood Sunnyside in his honor, a name that many of the Rock Boys would primarily represent for years to come. By 2016, the violence had truly erupted in Chicago. Whether the rise and popularity of drill music was influencing the violence is a question that academics continues to research for years to come. But what we do know for sure is that in 2016, Welch World would lose yet another member, and this time it would be one of their only rappers, Lodi Bay. Lodi had been dropping songs and music videos for years at this point, all the way from 2011 when he was just a kid, although he was seemingly never fully committed to just rapping, usually dropping a few music videos each year, such as the music videos for the
Bro, change his fucking YouTube name to fucking a view count, so people would think it got 2.7 million views.
Are fully committed to just rapping, usually dropping a few music videos each year, such as the music videos for the track Soldier with Boss Rel, and for the track Off Top Freestyle in 2014, the Welsh World and OBN anthem Wit the Gang, as well as the now ominous I'ma Die This Way in 2016. All of these songs typically included many disses aimed towards the ops of Welsh World, particularly the sets in 757. The deadly year of 2016 was almost over, when Lodi and his family and friends were gathered for Christmas in the Chatham neighbourhood. They were gathered in front of a house to shoot dice when someone in a grey hoodie came through the alley and opened fire on the crowd gathered in front of the house, hitting numerous people. The shooting would leave 5 people wounded, some in critical condition, but it would unfortunately kill both Lodi and his brother. This event would truly showcase the brutality of violence that had taken over the city, where savages are spending their Christmas day hunting for ops and not having second thoughts about shooting into large crowds of people just to catch their target. This senselessness and lack of hope was reflected in the comment that Lodi's sister gave to the news, saying that the shootings in Chicago don't even require a reason. And moving into 2017, disrespect would still fly between these groups of bitterly at war gangs. Friends of Neef, like Money Man, would still be dissing Welch in songs throughout 2017. In fact, during these violent years when Tay Savage was locked up, several rappers would emerge from 757 affiliated sets and build budding rap careers in the Chicago drill scene. People like Gunsmoke Gutter, 757 Wooski, 757 Mono, and 757 BA, just to name a few. But it wasn't just 757 going hard against Welch World in music, as even 051 Young Money, the other set that had a long-standing beef with Welch World, would use their music to disrespect Welch, with Driller's infamous Chicago anthem, 51 Dead Ops, featured a lyric where he warns his ops, don't get welched. However, no matter how treacherous the beef between them and their rivals got in the music or the streets, Welch World's biggest target and threat, Tay Savage, would remain behind bars and unable to influence things on the streets during these years. But Tay's beefs wouldn't just be active on the outside, because inside jail, despite being on his best behavior in the hopes to get an early release, Tay would still be getting into fights, with a minute-long scuffle later surfacing online in a jailhouse surveillance video that showed 2 people fighting on the upper deck, and fans would even see post-fight analysis from Tay and the man he was fighting in the form of jailhouse interviews on camera.
Mr. Timberlake, what happened upstairs? Why wouldn't you stop fighting when I told you to?
Fight?
Yeah.
Fight.
Okay, do you want protective custody? Do you wish to press charges? Do you wish to press charges against Mr. Bird? On inmate Bird. Okay, that's great. Thank you, sir. Mr. Bird? Why were you and the other inmate fighting?
Nah, these post-game interviews great.
Just playing, you weren't fighting? No. Why didn't you separate when I gave you loud verbal orders to separate?
Because I ain't want to get slammed.
Okay. Do you wish to press charges?
No.
Do you want protective custody?
No.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
Negativity
Turn off that camera real
inside
quick.
And outside the prison walls, it would seem that while in jail, Tay was still trying to keep a positive mindset. Tay would claim to have gained maturity in prison, claiming to have even tried to mentor other youngsters who were in there facing murder charges who he met inside.
Because you went in and you were like super young when you first started that bid, and it's like you're becoming a man as time goes by in there. Just you felt yourself growing up a lot.
And he was talking about his girl and shit, held him down the whole way through. I don't know how true that is, because you know women, but that's crazy, bro. He came home, his girl still holding him down. That's the craziest shit. 8 years.
It's like you're becoming a man as time goes by in there. Just you felt yourself growing up a lot.
Yeah, for sure. Then I started seeing young guys coming in like 16, 17, 17, 18. I'd be like, man, that's crazy. And they wild like I was. So I'm like, man, that's crazy. You know, I try to holler at them, give them some little game. Like, but you know, they ain't trying to hit nothing. Though. They trying to hit, they on what they on.
Mm-hmm.
But I still try to blow them. Like, man, you gotta chill, man, get some money, man.
Pause.
What they on.
Mm-hmm.
But I still try to blow them. Like,
pause.
Man, you gotta chill, man, get some money, man.
Nah, facts.
Because look, I beat those murders, you know what I'm saying? And that's a blessing. But it's guys that didn't. You know what I'm saying? So I be talking to them guys like, man, they be like, man, it's crazy, man. I ain't do it or what I do or whatever. I be like, man, that's crazy. But you know, it's like you stuck. Like, you stuck in us. So now it's like...
Interestingly enough, one of the people Tay would cross paths with in prison was none other than infamous Chicago gangster and killer King Von. Tay claimed to have originally met King Von in prison around 2011, where they became good friends, and people began to compare them to each other from the very start.
Because people always compare you to Von and say that, like, you know, they sort of see the similarities in you guys' personalities or your background.
Man, you wanna know what's crazy? They said that when I first met him, we was on... So we was on in Division
Tay
6 on
older
school.
though.
I mean,
Yeah,
the
Tay
deck
like
had went up or whatever.
what,
No,
like
the
3,
deck
4
didn't go
years?
up. Something happened. They moved me. They just moved me to the next deck, and then Vaughn came. And they was like, man, it's this dude on the next deck that remind me of you. So I'm like, yeah, I know. Hey, man, his name Vaughn. He from the O. I'm like, yeah. So now I see him. I'm like, I don't really see it, but I'm like, all right, cool. I get to rotate with him. I'm like, yeah, I like this little dude. So we get to chopping it up, and then we got locked. We just locked.
So you and Vaughn relationship came from being inside jail.
Yeah, that's why I met him at. But some of the guys knew him already, like from my area. But you know, Vaughn was a little younger than me. So some of the guys like around his age, they knew who Vaughn was for sure.
Tay would end up crossing paths with Von during his 20-year sentence, even claiming that Von had told him about his plans to become a rapper.
You were in there with King Von?
Yeah. We never was out at the same time. But we always be like exchanging words, or I get out here, you know what I'm saying? But we always keep in communication.
And he gets out and blow up.
He said he's gonna do it though. He
said that?
Yeah.
Yeah, people were saying he said that to everybody in jail.
Raps was weak as hell when he first came out. In jail, weak as hell. He's spinning shit on the gallery. I'm like, bro, is you for real? Yeah. Oh, watch this. He did it.
Tay and Von would keep in touch, and Tay would even post a handwritten letter that Von had sent him while in jail, with Von even drawing the Welch World W next to the O Block O, and writing,
I ain't even
jail, with Von even drawing...
That's the Welch World W? I thought they used the Washington Nationals. That's damn near the same thing, right? Yeah, damn near the same thing. It just got the little extra shit at the end. I'm damn near from Welch World. I got the Nationals logo.
W next to the O Block O, and writing,
right in the state bill. What's her name? Maria something. When the Marco come back to the county on some real shit, whenever I touch and I come up and get right, I'll make sure you and every like us straight. Oh no, it's only a few, and you better go ahead and start working out, cause I can merch it. I'll beat your ass. I've been whooping it, and I'm.
Why am I hearing King Von fucking read out his letter right now? Like AI is crazy.
Cocky now. I'll knock you flat out. You my boy though, so I ain't even on that. But I love you, broski. Keep your head up, cause these be quick to try to snake you. Free the real. Loyalty is everything. Loose lips sink ships from a stretch game. AKA El Chopper, AKA Von Savage, AKA King Von from the...
Ultimately, as the years went past, Tay would get closer and closer to his release date, with mugshots and prison pictures surfacing in each year leading up to his release. In April 2020, Welch World members post that Tay is coming home soon, and his May 2021 mugshot would be the final image of Tay to release before the man himself. Meanwhile, outside in the streets of Chicago, the violence was showing no signs of slowing down, making 2021 the deadliest year in Chicago since the mid-90s. This would also be felt in the low end, where the
damn, in the mid-90s?
Situation was indeed
that's what Tay coming back to?
90s gang war. And one of the parties particularly taking a lot of losses was 757. In February 2021, they would suffer an enormous loss when one of their most loved and respected members, and one of their first major rappers, Gutter,
them O's
real name Keontae Gregory Mollett, would be gunned down in the Grand Crossing neighborhood. The loss of Gutter hit 757 hard, and in the years to come, they mentioned him in their music, usually making it clear that they don't play about his name at all. But then, only a month later,
so where Blazing Dog from?
Another
from
major
the
tragedy would strike when another key player in 757 would lose his life in a crash-out mission by his ops that was so brazen that it would baffle even the most devoted followers of Chicago drill culture, who at this point had gotten used to pretty much anything. A member called Big Folks, real named Juwan Davis, was standing in line at a driver's license facility in the middle of the day when two men would approach him and start shooting, hitting him several times, which would eventually lead to his death.
Nah, motherfuckers not safe anywhere. I seen barbershops, grocery stores, outside they work. Nah, the DMV, everybody gotta get their license for real. You don't got to, but like, if you got a license, you gotta do that shit yearly.
Rush to hospital.
Yeah, pretty
Meanwhile,
much.
The two assailants would escape in a getaway car, but would later ditch that car, attempting
Gotta get
to
new
carjack
plates.
a Tesla, only to find themselves unable.
Wait, what?
A car, but would later ditch.
Wait.
After he was rushed to hospital. Meanwhile, the two assailants would escape in a getaway car,
Okay.
but would later ditch that car, attempting to carjack a Tesla, only to find themselves unable to figure out how to start it. The two.
Bro, motherfuckers stealing cars, they don't even know how it works. Why the fuck they dumped out that car?
Men were soon arrested, and they would be identified as Matthew Givens and Cortez Hudson, who were better known in the streets as Lil.
Y'all already doing a crazy fucking, what they call a crash out mission. They already doing a crazy crash out mission by going to the DMV and doing that in front of like hella witnesses and shit. Now you trying to take a Tesla after you dump the first
Matt
car?
from OBN and Cortez from MTG 039.
To a crime alert now, 2 people have been charged in connection to a fatal shooting outside a driver's license facility in suburban Chicago. Matthew Givens of
In the
Lansing
suburbs?
and Cortez Hudson of Oak Park were both denied bail. The men are charged with first-degree murder in the death of 21-year-old Huan Davis. Prosecutors say that Givens and Lansing were members of a street gang who targeted Davis because he was a member of a rival gang.
Their actions that day became even more absurd when it was revealed that Cortez's 6-year-old little brother was in the car with them when they arrived at the scene of the murder. The loss of big folks and
Hey, they doing a drill with their fucking nephew in the back? Or a 6-year-old brother in the back? What the fuck is going on? So they just let them in the first car? Or they carrying the baby to the Tesla, trying to rob it and shit? What the fuck?
6-year-old little brother was in the car with them when they arrived at the scene of the murder. The loss of big folks and gutter were a heavy burden to carry for 757, but unfortunately, they weren't the only ones who lost their lives in 2021. But
wait, who were the other two from? Who were the people that... So that the dude that died was from 757. Where was the other 2 people from? The crash house.
2022 would
That's a crash out mission.
Finally, Tay Savage the Bully would be released back onto the streets of Welch World, and it wouldn't take him long to realize that with his reputation in the streets, in the modern era of gangster rap and drill music, his backstory would be irresistible to fans of violent drill music, and he would begin his transformation from Trigger Happy Tay to Tay Savage, the rap star.
The return and rise of Tay Savage, rap game bully.
Tay Savage would later speak on his time in jail, calling it a blessing that helped him see who were the real people in his life.
I look at that like a blessing. That time I look at it like a blessing, you know, because I was out here the whole time. There's a lot of people around me hating or, you know, funny feelings. Or that time it let me see a lot of people, like, you know, they say time reveal all. So it let me, I learned that now I'm watching, I'm paying attention, you know. So that time really was a blessing. I came out on top. I feel like I was fighting 2 bodies and a carjacking. You know what I'm saying? I did 8 years off that.
100%.
That was a blessing.
Tay had truly been
100%. People be in hindsight like, damn, you did 9 years for carjacking? Like, that's crazy, but you gotta look at what you're facing, bro.
To go from fighting 2 murders and an attempted robbery to being a free man once again after only 8 years and 9 months in prison. Tay would be released from jail on March the 18th, 2022, and announcing that he was back on Instagram. And Tay's ops from 757 would react to his release, telling him to come there and alluding to plans to have him killed. With Tay clapping back, saying he made the 757, a possible reference to the murder of Snoop, which led to the formation of 757, made up of the 3 sets, the Av, the Rock Boys, and Lawless many years before. Now, despite his back and forth with his ops, in the year
Why his hair look like that? Yo.
The Av, the Rock Boys, and Lawless
the AI shit?
before. Now, despite his back and forth with his ops, in the year of 2022, when Tay was released, he didn't let anyone scare him from getting back to his normal life, deciding not to keep a low profile, but posting openly about his activities as a free
original
man on
Splash
social
Brothers,
media, posting a few
we
pictures
back.
since his return home with ominous captions like
Okay,
"The
Tay
Splash
Thompson.
Brothers are back at it," as well as one photo after his release with the O-Block street legends T-Roy and Jay Munner. He would also post clips of himself working out after putting on some muscle in the prison gym, and continuing to post pictures to Instagram with spooky captions aimed at his ops, like this one with a caption saying that now after doing 9 years in jail,
your time is up.
Tay would also post saying that it's been 12 years since Welch got killed, and showing that he's got Welch's son, Lil Welch's, back for life, with
there you
pictures
go.
of him taking him shopping. On the anniversary
Damn, he
of
damn near taller than him.
Welch's son, Lil Welch, is back for life.
That's what's up, though.
Pictures of him taking him shopping. On the
What you
anniversary
should
of
do.
Welch's death, Tay would post
like he came home, he giving out money, he buying
a
people shit.
heartfelt tribute to his
How
fallen
it
friend,
is.
saying, 12 years ago, we lost one of the realest to ever do this. What we created was built on nothing but love and loyalty. So I'ma keep that torch flaming through your name till there ain't no more breath in my lungs. It's your world, shorty. We're just living it. Long live Rude Boy Welch. Welch World, Bricky Gang, Re-Rock, Family of Savages. But it wasn't all pain and sadness on Tay's timeline. He would be living it up, riding jet skis, and being seen out partying in Arizona with GD rappers Ruger and his day one low-end friend Billionaire Black. Unfortunately though, despite Tay being a free man once again and living his best life, the streets of Welch World were still dangerous. As one of Tay's close friends, 30-year-old LaParish Brown, aka Arab G, would end up being gunned down on the 1st of October 2022 less than a year after Tay's release, with the local news reporting of a man shot in the head in the 300 block of West 110th Street, and Chicago Drill's social media pages reporting the death of Arab G from Welch World the following day. His death was followed by friends and Welch World affiliates posting tributes to him on social media. The 30-year-old was apparently training to become a trucker and get out of the streets, and one of the women who was actually in the trucking training school with him even made an emotional YouTube video reacting to Arab G's murder.
What's left?
I learned earlier today that an acquaintance that I went through training with at the job that I left.
Oh, he's actually training. Oh shit.
Was shot in the head and killed.
Damn. That's some peace. Could be some older people.
Over the weekend, he just turned 30. His name was LaParish. He wanted to get out. He wanted to get away from the violence.
Unfortunately, the violence was far from over, and only hours later, another man, apparently affiliated with the NLMB, was also killed in the same neighborhood.
No limit.
His name, Marquise Lewis. He was known as Lil Savage, and was seemingly friends with both Tay and Arab G, paying tribute to Arab only moments before himself being killed. The streets of Welch were clearly as dangerous as they've ever been since Tay got home, and initially, Tay would seemingly be trying to remain out of the streets, explaining in an interview that initially, upon his return from jail, he was working in construction.
Like a regular job?
Yeah, I was working construction.
Yeah?
It's not for like parole and shit. Like you gotta like.
Later explain.
You gotta like. How do I put this shit? Like you gotta show them like you doing better for yourself. So they have you get a job. They have you get legal money and shit.
That he didn't like being
told
what to do on the job, and that construction just wasn't for him.
I like to be my own boss. You know, I don't like nobody telling me to go do too much, lifting this heavy shit.
Yeah.
The money was too slow for you?
Ain't nothing wrong with a job. If that's what you want, if you want some working man type stuff, it was decent. But that ain't really what I'm on. I'm trying.
Yeah, there's some people with like big heads I know that be like, man, I ain't trying to have no one tell me what to do. Like, oh, go clean the bathrooms. Oh, go do this, go do that. They can't handle that shit, so they just walk out that
businesses,
shit.
You know what I'm saying? I got the label going, the Family of Savages.
So Tay would be looking for other opportunities to make money without the hassle of a 9-to-5. And so, in the latter part of 2022, before he had any ideas of rapping, it would seem that Tay Savage decided to continue living up to his nickname, The Bully, allegedly snatching a chain belonging to one of fellow Chicago rapper Polo G's artists, Young Liv, aka Livy. Livy had been seen wearing the chain off his record label in numerous videos and clips, and following the alleged snatching, Tay would begin to be seen on Instagram Live wearing the chain.
Tell that nigga get his chain back. He deleted his brand. Tell him come get his.
Oh, they got fucking Duel on there.
Tell that nigga get his chain back. He deleted his brand. Tell him come get his chain back.
You talking about? I'm on the live, man. They talking about they can get his chain back. They talking about? Yeah.
Yo, they said Livy going on bad right now.
Livy's a bad card.
They said real BB.
Don't get his chain back.
They said real BB.
DMs would later leak, appearing to show Tay discussing the robbery. Meanwhile, Livy would come out to say that the chain had been taken from another person who had it whilst in Chicago, rather than Livy himself. Now, Tay would later be asked about the chain in a Say Cheese interview, where he claimed that it belonged to him.
Now, the chain you got on, that's Young Liv's chain, right?
No, it's my chain.
However, he would later tell 16 Shot 'em that he took
Damn.
He got mixed up with some of his friends in the low
Damn.
end. Livy probably got an insurance.
Shit, not my chain.
He got caught in the mix, bro. He got caught in the mix of something that ain't had nothing to do with him. You feel me? Green lighted it. This is Livy chain. Livy got this took off him.
Oh, so the chain got a video.
Shit.
The other one?
Gotta be.
Nah, he said this is Livy's chain. I took this shit off of him. Off his.
You know, he be having insurance and shit, so I got it, gang. You feel me? Like, I'm going
Yeah,
with it.
sure.
Like, if you want your shit, bro, it ain't nothing personal against us. You feel me? If you want it, bro, just, you know what I'm saying? You know, hit my hand. You feel me?
Ironically, this incident would make for the
price
perfect
tag.
story to support Tay's reputation as the bully. And the following month, he would decide to fully capitalize on his budding reputation as a chain-snatching bully in December 2022, posting a picture of himself wearing the snatched chain and claiming to be signed to the streets. This was posting a picture
They asked who I'm signed to, bitch. I'm Welchwood. You know I'm signed to the
of
streets.
himself wearing the snatched chain and claiming to be signed to the streets.
Hashtag Moose Knuckle. Hashtag Prada. Hashtag
This
Timberland.
was Tay's first hint that he was planning to make an independent move
Now
into
what
the
the
rap
fuck?
game. And a few weeks later, at the start of
That's some old ass
2023,
shit.
TAY Savage decided to make a life-changing decision, leaning into the Chicago drill scene and beginning to make a way for himself as a rapper,
There you go.
as well as starting his own label called Family of Savages. The crew's name would be abbreviated as FOS, and that moniker would also form the title of his debut song and music video. FOS would start.
That was his first song? Damn.
Previous disclaimer saying that prop.
Wait, when that shit drop? That didn't drop long ago. Shit. This interview's crazy. I'm just gonna look up FOS. Oh, basically a year ago. 11 months ago. Damn, he hasn't even been rapping a full year. 300K not bad on your first song. January 1st. Oh shit, he literally okay.
Props were used in this music video, and the music video would open with ominous shots of TAY's Family of Savages waving around prop guns with visible prop bullets inside what must have been prop magazines. In the song, TAY Savage would lean heavily into his street reputation, using an intro from a now deleted Street News TV Chirac Street Legends video about TAY, where he described TAY as the Michael Jordan.
Oh god, I seen that shit like a month ago. I was looking for it.
Of the robbing game.
I could not find that shit.
That's an
That shit
appropriate
got deleted.
introduction for TAY's music career, as he would later explain in a Dirty Glove Bastard interview. How it was that particular video that made him first realize that he could leverage his reputation in the streets to his advantage in the music industry, just like his friend King Von had done a few years earlier.
But it's like, when did Von start rapping? It was like 2017, right? Because Von definitely wasn't no star or none like that. Like, he wasn't that good his first year. So, bro, about to be a year into this shit. I really think Tay can do it. I think Tay got the reputation, got the awareness. He just needs to mix it all in with the music.
That was your reputation.
Yeah.
It's only a matter of time.
So look, when I was locked up, a dude had did like a little Street News TV thing. It was something like that. Not Street News. It was like a Chirac Street Legend thing. That's what it is. So he had did that. So when I see that first, people telling me in jail, so I'm mad. I'm like, what? But it's so crazy. At the time, I was reading the 50 Cent book, The 50th Law. You feel me? So I'm mad. Like, man, this tweaking, man. He trying to get me. I'm trying to get out. Like, what are you doing? You feel me? But then as I'm reading this book, I'm like, man, how could I try to make that into a positive? You feel me? And then he had said, like, man, I ain't gonna lie, when Tay come on, we probably should rap. So I'm like, man, I'm finna try to flip that, cause I know if you got a street reputation, you can get on a beat and then say anything. It's the guy's talented. I'm talking about super talented. They ain't got no motion, cause it's like they ain't got the image. But it's guys that's super garbage.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like this, like how he do anything, but he'll be taken off. It's crazy. So that's how I try to turn that negative.
And it really be like the rappers that be like trying to do like the double entendre shit like that. You know, they ain't. It's like the J. Cole's versus fucking the Lil Durks now. Like motherfuckers, they got that image versus people that don't got that image. J. Cole's one of the only, like who's someone like J. Cole that has blew up in this shit that has that image of J. Cole, super positive. Oh, he struggled, but he ain't do nothing in the streets. You feel me? Motherfuckers don't blow up like that no more. Like Dirk and like the street shit, the street music blows up all the time. Kendrick Lamar, I'm talking about like recent. Like we seen Pooh Shiesty come up. Like, you feel me? Street rapper. Like, you see everybody every year do some shit like that. But who's someone that, like, is younger, that just popped off, that blew up off this shit? Like, it's very rare.
Get into a positive.
For sure. And you already had the motivation from bro, Von.
Yeah,
He already
for sure.
got out and then did what he did.
Yeah.
So you already knew it was possible.
Yeah.
As the video goes on,
Jack Harlow?
Tay introduced the
Jack Harlow's a good one, but you could always say he blew up because he's white.
world to his gun-toting family of savages. This would appear to be his new crew, the next generation of Welch World who would have Tay's back in the rap game. A crew consisting of members who
Kid
seemingly
Laroi.
hail from the same neighborhood as Welch World between the 40th and 43rd Streets in the low end. People such as Buki the G, Take Some, and Lousy, who are part of a set called Bricky Gang, which consists of youngsters in the Welch World neighborhood. While surrounded by his family of savages, all toting props of course, Tay then begins to rap and introduces the world to his family of Savage's crew and labeling himself as the captain, going on to rap about keeping something deadly in his pocket and his gun firing off so hard it knocked his arm out of its socket. I guess Prop's got a kickback too. He also would claim that he stayed solid and served his 10 years in jail, all without snitching, earning him official G status on his block, as well as saying that he runs the low end and using his nickname the Bully to refer to himself. This was
He said, "Bitch, I'm the bully and I run the low. Who tested it?"
As well as saying
he talk crazy on this bitch.
And using his nickname the Bully to refer to himself.
I think this is my I think Bully Flow is Tay's best song, and then FOS, I'll probably that's like second or
This
third.
was a bold entry into the rap game, and with Tay Savage's reputation actually backing up his lyrics, as a result, he would soon become
I ain't
a
playing
buzzing
that shit all the
prospect
time.
in the Chicago drill scene. But interestingly, for the next few months, Tay wouldn't release more music, instead going on a gang-banging press run and appearing in interviews explaining his life story in the streets to numerous YouTube channels, including a legendary sit-down with DJ UTV in February 2023 that was many people's first introduction to Tay Savage.
Damn, that dropped all the way last year. Damn, I didn't even know that.
Already picking up on the similarities in
I think I watched that one.
between Tay and King Von. The following month, Tay would make an appearance.
I guess he remind me of Von 'cause his story and shit, but like he definitely got that quiet demeanor like Von. But I think Von was, I ain't gonna say he was a crash out, but he be on some other shit. Like I feel like Tay he way smarter
On the song
and the way he
Send a Message
moves.
with Buki the G, with Chicago legend Lil Reese appearing in the music video alongside Tay, representing a
Damn.
major cosign. A few months later in May, despite not having released any new music yet, Tay would end up going viral for his reaction to someone else's music. As Tay's interview with 16 Shot'em begins to be
Yeah, that
released,
shit was going
in one
crazy.
clip, Tay would be confronted about the daughter of Cess, the woman he was accused of murdering.
That blew her up,
Blazing Doll,
too.
with 16 asking
That helped
Tay
her a lot.
why he posted Blazing Doll's music, with Tay dropping the heartless comment saying, "It was the least I could do."
One of the murders you had beat with the session, her daughter, a rapper, and you had reposted her music. Was there like a reason behind that?
Yeah, I just want to support her. I feel like that's the least I could do.
Tay would reference.
That's the least I could do, 'cause you know what I mean? Like he got locked up for her mom's murder, and he said I reposted her music. That's the least I could do, 'cause you know what I mean? I had to do what I had to do. Damn, that's the craziest shit. I ain't watched that. I ain't never seen that clip. Damn.
She ain't really have no followers, so I'm like, I'ma share it. You feel me? Whatever publicity is good publicity, whatever. You know? So I really was sharing that counts my heart, but you know.
Nah, Tay know what we
asked
doing.
if Tay would ever sit down with Blazing Doll, with
Nah.
Tay saying there was nothing to talk about and that he's not surprised she doesn't like him.
You ever plan to sit down with her?
No, I ain't really nothing to talk about.
I mean, she feels some type of way about everything.
Of course she do.
He's supposed to.
Blazing would later respond to the rumors of Tay killing her mother in a No Jumper interview, where she claimed that most of the YouTube documentaries about her mother don't tell the full story.
I'm sure you're aware of the reputation that your mom has because there's like multiple YouTube documentaries basically telling her story and
But
everything
it's
like
like
that.
they not telling it right.
What are they telling her
That's
wrong?
not it.
And inferring that Tay Savage has come up off the back.
Why she got that like? That's not like a Chicago accent. That's like a Southern accent.
They're right.
What's YouTube documentaries basically telling her story and
But
everything
it's
like
like
that?
they not telling it right.
What are they telling her
That's
wrong?
not it.
And inferring that Tay Savage has come up off the back of embellishing the story of what happened to Cess, essentially saying he didn't actually do it.
Well, I might as well just say the name since it's like he getting clout on me.
Uh-huh.
I feel like Tay, he really like
Tay Savage.
pushing the shit. He never did it. That's why he keep saying allegedly. You allegedly did it.
Like Tay ain't never Tay ain't never really like talk about that shit in interviews. He never talk about either murders. It's the internet taking that shit and just feel me slapping his name on it, and it's the interviewers asking him, and he just responds.
Never did it.
Arguably,
Nah, she really
Blazing Doll
salty
was right.
about that shit.
Tay Savage had certainly come up off the back of the rumors of being
How?
involved in Cess's murder, and disturbingly, it was working like
Oh, he did use like the shit in the music though. That's a
A
fact.
few months after dropping his debut track FOS,
But he don't be overly doing
Tay
it
would
though.
follow that up with his booming new track, Gang Party, once again appearing in his video surrounded by mean-looking shooters. This came with a menacing hook where Tay would shout
Mean-looking
out his
shooters.
new crew, Family of Savages, and claim to be with the Steppers who kill their main ops and catch bodies. With Tay's repeated referring to catching that main body, perhaps hinting towards the 2008 murder of Kamain Fears or the 2010 murder of Jermaine Streeter, aka Maintain,
Maintain,
which allegedly preceded the murder of Welch. Gang Party also had other references to details of Tay's murder cases, with him rapping that if you get too close he'll shoot, and that he wears a COVID mask when he shoots so that they don't know it's him, adding the ad-lib, no face, no case. Even going further in the second verse, rapping, pull right here and stop, I'm out on V, a reference to Vincennes Avenue, where Neef's murdered. Pull right here and stop, I'm out on v, a reference to Vincennes Avenue, where Neef's murder took place. Followed by a lyric seemingly taking responsibility for the murder, with Tay and his whole FOS crew rapping, Mr. Walk 'em down, shout out to Neef. This was a bold lyric, and one of the first instances of Tay boasting directly about the murders in his music. This bold approach, rapping openly about his murder cases, had a lot of people in the comments comparing him to King Von, and there would be endless other comments of people saying that Tay is going to be the next big rapper to come out of Chicago. Ironically, it wasn't just the comments pumping up Tay's image as the latest big rapping savage to come out of the Chicago drill scene, because at the end of May, fellow Chicago rapper turned comedian turned serial entrepreneur FYB J Mane appears in a viral interview clip on Say Cheese TV, where he hilariously tells the story of Tay Savage shooting at him in Chicago, frequently referring to Tay by the nickname from the famous Hollywood shooter John Wick.
He got this name, Tay Savage. Is this man even a savage? Nah, I ain't gonna front my move. Only reason I say he is savage is because of what I seen with my own eyes. It hit different.
Bro, didn't we watch this shit? I didn't think it was gonna be this viral.
Tay Sav, bro. I call him John Wick.
Tay would actually react to the interview in a later Say Cheese interview, brushing off the comments as lies and calling FYB J Mane a comedian, but then admitting he did shoot.
Bro, I remember like it was like last year, like 2 years ago or some shit. This man J Mane was fucking. He had like an OTF tattoo. It wasn't a tattoo, but it was like marker on his forehead, and he was like saying he was signed to OTF and shit. Like, oh, I think it was one of the titles was like is FYB J Mane really signed to OTF? I'm like, I'm confused. I'm like, what the fuck is this? So I just want to click on it because I've seen on my Instagram like J Mane stayed talking about he signed to OTF. So I'm like, what the fuck is this? Just like a skit, or like does he actually have some type of deal? I don't really know. I don't be looking at J Mane's music like that, so I didn't know if he was popping or not. I clicked on this shit. It was just a whole bunch of bullshit. He was chatting.
J Mane,
that shit was funny though.
We got John Wick. I mean, my bad. We got Tay Savage in the
I say all that to say this. Like, I watched some random J Mane shit fucking last year, 2 years ago. And then now, you feel me, got shit going viral on Say Cheese just because I wanted to watch it on stream.
He called you John Wick. And he even told stories about several nights in different situations. How credible was the FYB J Mane interview in when it came to your name?
Listen, J Mane is a comedian. You can't believe nothing he say. Nothing.
You was really John Wick that night? Was that?
Oh yeah, I got all over his ass.
Pause.
Yeah, I got all over his ass. He know what happened. Man, we hit his ass with the whoop. We hit his ass with the whoop. That was it.
Tay and J Mane would even end up talking about this incident in a face-to-face interview, with J Mane even confronting Tay in person about killing Cess after Tay said that he would beat the case of shooting J Mane because J Mane couldn't identify him.
Did you see me shoot at you?
I seen somebody and I couldn't visualize their face, but I know it's you, Tay. I know it's you.
See, I would have beat that. I would have beat that.
See, I'm starting to believe you shot that girl mama, bro.
Man, stop doing that, bro. Now stop. Come on, stop.
And Tay would even take to Instagram, atting J Mane and reaffirming that a jury of 12 had found him not guilty of killing Cess. Now at this point, Tay was quickly becoming the hottest topic in the Chicago drill scene, and he would follow up his viral interview appearances with solid musical output. In June 2023, he drops the track FaceTime, which came with a beat that's reminiscent of some New York and UK drill beats with its own Chicago flavor, and it's probably my favorite Tay Savage song. The music video for FaceTime opens with slow motion shots of goons waving guns around, and at this point, any suggestion that they're even props has gone right out the window. In the track, Tay would rap gritty bars, painting a picture of his lifestyle as a Welch world hitter, rapping outright.
I don't really fuck with it all like that.
That he stands his ground.
I ain't gonna lie, like if you expect them like some Vaughn shit or like some 2019 Vaughn, you're not getting that shit. Like early Vaughn, you're not really getting that. It ain't that good. Like the lyrics are good, but I just feel like he focused on too much what he's saying and not like the flow. Like he just need to like, I don't know, just get used to the studio. He's only been rapping like a year. So you just need to lock in on that.
Round and kills people. He would rap about shooting women too.
But I think Bully Flow might be his best song. He sound like Shoebox in the voice. He not trash. Like we'll listen to some shit. But I think Bully Flow, FOS, this shit ain't bad.
His business. And
he don't got any tracks that I could just play just Like, I go out my way to play Tay Savage. That's all I'm saying. Like, I don't got it on the playlist. I'm not in the whip playing this shit. But you feel me?
Proudly declaring that his crew run the low end, before launching into a closing hook where he says that he will shoot his ops in the face and end their FaceTime calls early. Once again, fans were captivated by Tay's drill raps that seemingly echoed the real-life situations that he had been in. However, behind the scenes,
bro, not rap capping his shit.
Backlash. In the days surrounding the release of his new single
Low-key
FaceTime,
needs to
Tay
make
was
it better.
subjected to allegations that he was a snitch, after his earlier case files began to circulate on Reddit and wider social media, suggesting that Tay had snitched when he was caught with that gun as a 16-year-old due to the police report suggesting that he had told the cops that the driver of the vehicle gave him the gun when he realized they were being followed by police. However, some people would argue that this paperwork itself is false. However, Tay would seemingly admit that the paperwork itself was real in an IG Live with FYBJ Main, but he suggested that this was a police report, not an actual written statement from Tay himself.
Before we get into that, can you how much of this situation can you speak on? Because I be knowing in certain situations that you can't speak on.
No, so what I'm saying is that's a real case. You feel me? That's the first time I went to the joint as an adult and shit. That was my first real adult case, or whatever. But
you got that
so
great
this is what I want you to do. I want you to read the police report. You got the police report over there, right?
Okay, hold on, I got the whoops.
Before you even read that, all right, listen, let me explain this to you. It's a difference between a police report and a statement. A police report is the police side of the story. You gotta always remember that. A police report is the police.
Yeah, it's like, bro, like, even with the SETI shit, like, if that's handwritten by SETI, that's different. But, like, there's so much shit where, like, a police could take whatever you say and just paraphrase the shit, or, like, just insinuate. Like, that's what people don't even understand. Like, when the police are writing, like, their notes and shit, they just insinuate on a lot of shit. So you could say something, but not actually say it, and they'll just assume you're saying something else and shit. Like,
It's report.
It's a lot.
A statement is when you have how they got a camera. Yeah, man, who out the band? Who out the band? Or when you got a sign statement, not the name. It's like a EP type.
Regardless, clearly the wider Chicago rap scene didn't consider Tay as a snitch, and he would still be seen as a rising star worth associating with. As in the following month of June, Tay would officially collaborate with a veteran of the Chicago drill scene, Lil Reese, for their track We Run This. The booming track was typical Chicago drill, and despite Tay Savage counting many of the legendary figures in Chicago drill as his friends, an official track with a big name like Lil Reese put him on the path to being taken seriously as a rapper by the Chicago streets, as well as proving that the snitching allegations didn't really stick. And the pair would follow up that track with a sequel the following month, with the Trust None remix dropping on July 28th, 2023, which once again saw Lil Reese and Tay Savage rapping back-to-back over a textbook Chicago drill piano loop beat. And it wasn't just Lil Reese that Tay Savage was collaborating with. Also in June, Tay drops a collab with Buki DG called Blocks 2. And then, in a very unexpected collab, in July, Tay Savage does a wholesome interview with British YouTuber Khadijah
it's the craziest
after a chance encounter being there when
I watched the interview. I don't know if it was No Jumper or what it was. It was some interview with Tay Savage. He just said, like, some random girl just pulled up just on Lamron, and he was just there. And she was talking about going to every hood in Chicago and shit. And he's like, man, you trying to get killed. You just roll with me tonight.
She came all the way
That's
from
what she
England
did.
to interview Lil Reese.
Why the hell is you going to different people's hoods interviewing people in Chicago?
Because you lot, I rate you lot, I respect you lot.
She would actually accompany Tay to the studio,
Yeah.
at one point putting on the stolen chain. This interview focused much more on the positive side of Tay Savage's life,
That'd be
specifically seeing him engaging with his Muslim faith.
I'm with Tay and the guys, and it's super duper cute.
We made Salat.
And how are you feeling?
Feeling good, feeling blessed.
Feel refreshed?
That's why I respect Tay a lot too. Like he put like his religion, him being a Muslim, on the highest tier, bro. I respect the hell out of that shit.
This will keep me humble and keep me
Like when he did his whole shit in New York, and then I see him go to Philly and was praying with his Muslims in Philly for Gilly's kid that passed away and shit. Like,
on the straight path. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
Because he have to do none of that.
Despite Tay's new wholesome and God-fearing outlook on life, there would still be struggles in the dangerous streets that made him. Even though he would be spending more and more time out of state as his star rose, back in Chicago, the war on the streets would continue, with devastating results for some of the young men still unlucky enough to be living on the front lines.
To 2023, the war with
Despite being out of state in
757
Atlanta,
757 continues.
Despite being out of state in Atlanta, Tay was taking his safety seriously, showing off an FNP90 machine gun that he had in the back of his car on an IG Live. 2023 would be an incredibly dangerous summer in Chicago, and numerous people would lose their lives in the month of June. Lil Ro from 757 had been seen on Instagram Live dissing his ops and saying he did a lot of stuff to them.
I did a lot of.
He was seemingly depressed at this time, with one of his last posts suggesting that he was turning to drugs to cope with the pain of life. Days later, on the 10th of June 2023, Lil Ro would actually be out of Chicago in North Hollywood, Los Angeles, where he was gunned down in a drive-by at 1:30 a.m. in an alleyway on 10923 Magnolia Boulevard near Vineland Avenue, being pronounced dead at the scene with no suspects being found. He was later identified by the coroner as 20-year-old Deshaun Berry, known to his friends as Lil Ro. Blasian Doll would post on her story saying she was heartbroken over the news and claiming to have been friends with Lil Ro since the Sandbox, while enemies of 757 would seemingly post mocking Ro and saying he got put to bed, while others compared his murder in the alleyway from a drive-by shooting to the murder of Ricky from the movie Boys in the Hood. Since recording this video, in a shocking turn of events, a young man affiliated with Welch World by the name of Taurine Bartlett, better known as Trench Baby, was arrested and charged with the murder of Lil Ro. Trench Baby is in fact the brother.
He recorded that shit. Fucking, when did he record this shit? Cause yeah, he just got picked up fucking in the summer. He must have had this shit in the...
was arrested and charged with the murder of Lil Ro. Trench Baby is in fact the brother of infamous Chicago rapper Polo G. And these murder charges come just a couple of months after an August 2022 raid on Polo G's LA mansion, which saw Polo and Trench Baby being led away from the property in handcuffs.
And I swear, everybody I seen, it was like, man, Polo ain't on nothing. They raided it because of his fucking little brother. Everybody called that shit.
Investigating Trench Baby for an armed robbery. But anyway, back to the original murder of Lil Ro.
Oh, that was the armed robbery.
In a few weeks of that killing, retaliation would strike, and two Welch World affiliates would end up losing their lives in the same month. On June the 23rd, a Welch World affiliate by the name of Turbo would seemingly lose his life, tragically only months after his father passed away. Real name, Derek Dillon, the 19-year-old was shot and killed in the 400 block of South Weber in Romeo.
You know the craziest shit, bro? Like, motherfucker is just a name, bro. They just added to the statistics. Like, bro really just died and, like, I ain't gonna say it's forgot about and shit, but it's like, bro, motherfuckers really dying. Like, no one would, like, turn a
Illinois, a suburban village.
What's that shit called? Turn the blind eye?
West of Chicago.
Like, bro, that's really crazy, bro.
At the Scene 75 Entertainment Center, where he was confronted by a 16-year-old boy. According to officers, a verbal dispute led to several shots being fired, killing Turbo and injuring another 16-year-old.
Forget about you quick, bro.
The teenage shooter, alleged to be responsible for Turbo's death, being arrested and held on a $5 million bond.
Damn.
Turbo was seemingly involved in the streets, having court charges of possessing a firearm with a defaced serial number and reckless conduct. And his involvement in the gang war would seemingly be confirmed by his affiliates posting him on their stories, and members from rival set 757 posting Long Live Ro in the aftermath of the killing of Turbo, with others claiming to have officially gone get back, and some going as far as to say that Turbo tried to fight and got put in the ground after getting shot with a Glock with a switch. But that wasn't the only tragedy that would be associated with Welch World in the summer of 2023. Only days after the killing of Turbo, Lil Reese and Tay Savage's manager, Huncho from Welch World, gets killed. He had been close friends with heavy hitters in the drill scene like THF Bezu and Tay Capone. Real name Diedrich Baker, Huncho was found with a gunshot to the head in the 4300 block of South Cottage Grove, one of the main blocks of Welch World, on June the 27th. In the days that followed, a 757 member repping Cess World Neef Street, CWNS, appeared to claim responsibility, posting a pendant with Cess and Neef on it and the caption, "This ain't over," and suggesting that there would be 2 funerals for their ops in July. Another post suggested that they run the low end, whilst others would post disrespectful images of Welsh packs, and some
I didn't even think about that. The Welch fruit snacks.
Beef with Welch World made hurtful posts mocking them. However, one of these people,
that man Kiddo, I'm about to say,
Money,
where he at?
Himself was recently released from a lengthy prison sentence, would eventually take the disrespect to a whole other level when on September the 19th he released his song No Peace, which is likely a reference to the pushing peace movement that Tay Savage has recently engaged in with FYBJ Maine.
What's the conversation when y'all see J Maine? They hit different, bro.
Pushing peace, not beef.
I fuck with the movement though, like pushing peace. Yeah, I fuck with Tay Savage for pushing peace.
In the song, Kiddo raps about how Huncho got killed because someone, either Huncho or possibly Tay, was talking too much shit. He then ups the disrespect by bringing Huncho's mother into the mix before ending the bar.
Like Kiddo, I ain't gonna lie, I never listened to no Kiddo.
Claiming that Huncho was moving too loosely in the city, seemingly implying that Young Money might have had something to do with his death. However, despite the bravado coming from Welch World's ops, there was seemingly retaliation for Huncho's death only days later, as news outlets would soon begin to report of the death of a 757 affiliate by the name of Ivo. According to Rum Report, he was shot in a drive-by while standing outside of a house with a woman, with 757 members seemingly mourning the loss of their friend, but unfortunately, the bodies would not stop.
Now, motherfuckers really
Only about a week after the death of Ivo, on July the 8th, 757 would lose another one, when one of their OG members, Kenny Mack from the Av, who had been heavy in the streets all the way back to when Neef was still active, and had actually made a song dedicated to Neef and Cess all the way back in 2012, was gunned down near Chinatown. The summer of 2023.
Chinatown. There's a Chinatown in Chicago?
Despite the decade plus since the tragic series of events that caused the deaths of Cess, Neef, and Welch, these bitter rivalries had raged on and been passed down to a whole new generation, obsessed with proving that they are just as deadly as the ones that came before them. It's a truly sad cycle of violence that continues to play out to this very day. And I have to stress once again that this gang lifestyle is nothing to glamorize or glorify. After seeing so many people gunned down and losing their lives before their time, it's shocking that anybody would actively decide to involve themselves in gang lifestyle. But the sad truth is, many people simply don't have a choice, and very few are going to be as lucky as Tay Savage when it comes to beating the law and surviving that gang lifestyle. In many ways, Tay Savage was the luckiest person to emerge from the low end, with his life and his freedom still intact, and he would now have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity as a rapper and survivor of the gang war to make a name for himself telling the stories of the dangerous life he used to live, rather than actually continuing to live that life. And luckily for Tay, right at the end of that deadly summer of 2023, he would come out with the biggest announcement of his career, revealing to the world that he had a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to change the fortunes of himself and his family forever.
That's tough. Tay Savage signs with Empire.
Playing out in the streets, even in the face of a huge loss, Tay Savage didn't let these events derail his rising music career. On July the 20th, 2023, Tay Savage linked up for his latest collab with female rapper Mellow Bugs, affiliated with the gang No Limit Muskegon Boys, or NLMB. This is the crew famous for rappers like G Herbo and Lil Bibby, as well as internet personality and all-star interviewee No Limit Cairo. There was clearly some kind of connection between Tay Savage's crew and No Limit, as after Tay's manager Huncho passed, No Limit Cairo would post a tribute to him on his story too. So it would make sense that there would be a musical link-up between No Limit's hottest female rapper and Welch World's hottest rapper. But there would be another reason why Tay and Mellow's link-up might have gotten people talking, as Mellow Bucks had been engaged in a beef with none other than Cess's daughter, Blasian Doll, with Blasian dissing Mellow.
I don't think I listen to either one of the females' music. I just be seeing them, they be beefing and shit. They be trying to link up and fight. Oh, Mellow Bucks is Cairo's cousin. I didn't know that. But Mellow Bucks got a song with Murder Beat.
Bucks had been engaged in a beef with none other than Cess's daughter, Blasian Doll, with Blasian dissing Mellow Bucks extensively in a song that she had teased on social media in February 2023, prompting a response from Mellow where she dissed Blasian and mocked the death of her mother. Blasian would even take the beef further by eventually releasing Mellow Bucks' diss song and music video titled Missy Elliott in May. So 2 months after that, naturally, Tay Savage and Mellow Bucks would team up for a song titled Never Leave My Blick, which also spells out their gang's name, NLMB. This was another street anthem and a great collab with a hit up-and-coming
Mellow tall as hell.
NLMB. This was another street anthem.
She dunking that motherfucker. Damn! She gotta be like 5'9".
Which also spells
Who told her? Her and Murder B. That's why they made a song.
Another street anthem and a great
collab. He 5'5". She like 5'7", 5'8".
With a hit up-and-coming female rapper who was also respected in the streets. Interestingly, Tay's verse came with one particularly dark line, perhaps aimed at the daughter of Cess, Blasian Doll, as Tay raps, "If our victims' kids turn ops, I guess we're killing kids." Perhaps a comment on their dueling interviews speaking on each other. Tay would also end with a disturbing line where he claims that despite the ops killing Welch, his gang have killed more than 6 of their ops, which at this point would be an extremely accurate lyric if you consider the murders of these 6 757 affiliates even before the back-to-back murders that took place in June 2023, possibly before this song was even recorded. So Tay was on a hot streak, and the Chicago drill scene, the world as a whole, was warming up to Tay's bully persona both on and off the mic. and Tay continued scoring big opportunities, with August being a huge month for him. Tay would go on No Jumper for a viral interview, notable for an awkward moment where Tay stares Adam22 down when he tells him that he had Cess's daughter Blasian Doll on the show previously.
Oh, I thought they were gonna do the kiddo shit.
Blasian Doll, I know you're a big fan of her.
This No Jumper interview was extensive, and to Tay's credit, he spent a lot of his time there speaking on positive things, claiming outright that his music is just entertainment, even urging gang members to slow down the violence.
Rock and roll, you know what I'm saying? I used to listen to, what's that? It's like, let that body hit the floor, let the body hit the floor. I used to like that.
You like that?
I used to like that though, I ain't gonna lie to you, but they probably ain't killing nobody, they just talk about bodies in the floor. I don't know, It's just entertainment, you feel me? But that's what I'm on,
Nah, facts.
Pushing Islam in.
Now, facts, they be talking about fucking rap he just made the perfect reference. The fucking rock music, they talking about bodies in the floor. They ain't never dropped no bodies. But they want to link fucking rap to gang culture and
stop
gang shootings.
Slow down the violence and bring money to the city, bring money to us.
But one thing that wasn't stopping or slowing was Tay's work rate in the rap.
Damn.
He clearly had something to prove,
dropping a lot.
He was continuing to drop music and collaborate with other artists.
I swear I didn't know he's only been rapping for a year. I thought it was longer than that. Like, I knew he didn't come out rapping, come out of prison rapping immediately. I thought it was just a couple months and then he started rapping. But
his next collab dropped on August
took a whole year
2023,
and then started rapping.
A song called Folks and Lokes with LA rapper Geechee Gotti, where Tay boldly says that people can't talk about murders if they don't have any bodies, and again referring himself to Mr. Walk'em Down, aka He Run, Hawk'em Down. And as his profile grew off the back of his legend as a rapper, Tay would remain locked in with social media, using his accounts to promote himself in bold and interesting ways. Tay would go live again on August the 24th, showing fans that he kept every piece of paper that he had during his time in prison, including letters from King Von. And in response to the snitching allegations, Tay would read his case papers relating to his murders live, and warning others not to choose the street.
Letters.
These statements, this ain't no police report. These real statements. This my discovery. One day I'm gonna go through this. One day I'm gonna go through this. This my bro. I ain't even pop folks letters out. You from my Roy. That's why I be pushing that piece, because I know what's gonna happen. You be talking that shit on the internet, playing these games, then you get on their ass, you gonna have some shit like this on you. These is all for murders.
Damn.
All for murders.
Bro, those are probably the same papers, just different copies.
Thank God I beat them. They say I stood over her and said, "I told you, bitch." Damn, but this why I be telling y'all, bro. You gotta stay out the street, bro. Stay out the way, bro. We pushing peace, not beef. Stop the violence.
Things were coming together behind the scenes for Tay, and by the time September rolled around, he was gearing up to make a huge announcement. Tay would come out with a post on Instagram saying that he is the general of Family of Savages and announcing that they signed a deal with Empire Records. This would be followed by an official announcement and posts of gratitude from Tay to the Empire family and thanking Allah for the huge opportunity that he had just received. Now, Empire was also the label that King Von had chosen to align himself when he went on a rap game run of a lifetime, cut short by his unfortunate death. On September the 15th, 2023, Tay would release his first single since aligning with Empire, a track called Bully Flow, leaning into his famous moniker and filming a label budget music video at an LA strip club. That would be followed up by another track on October the 13th, 2023, titled PSA, a booming drill track that saw Tay living the high life in Beverly Hills surrounded by music video models, all while rapping about riding through his city with a car full of killers, and keeping pictures of his victims so he can remember who he killed. Ultimately, this is where the Tay the Savage story
that's some different shit, bro.
And the Tay the Rapper story begins. He's now a signed rapper with a huge opportunity to change the fortunes of himself and his whole family. He's being groomed as the next King Von. And there's no denying that there's clearly a fascination with the alleged murders he was involved in.
Him looking up to the King Von shit is crazy. That's
Much
a crazy
like King
picture.
Von, Tay's willingness to rap and speak about these murders and his life as a gang member in the low end has gravitated many fans towards him, as well as ops and enemies, which are always going to be a threat. Just as recently as September 2023, Blasian Doll rapped on her new song World in My Hand.
What's she be
people are going
saying?
to die for speaking on her mother. Who knows how serious
shit.
his enemies are about killing him, but either way, the lyrics provide the fans with a real-life true crime drama to follow along. And it's not just this sick fascination that drill and crime fans have with people who are really doing what they're rapping about, but in many ways, Tay Savage's story represents something much bigger. The story of somebody coming from one of the harshest backgrounds. Someone who was born into the cycle of poverty and violence that places many young men into kill or be killed scenarios. While Tay Savage was found not guilty of 2 of his murder charges, the general consensus online and from Tay's own demeanor in interviews is that he probably had something to do with them.
Nah.
There's been many rappers over the years who have become popular off the back of their rumored involvement in deadly violence.
You cannot have fucking Dirk, Youngboy, Vaughn, and then at the end, Tay Savage.
There's something about Tay's story that's different. It's the quintessential revenge story that makes the fans ask themselves if they were in Tay's shoes. If their friend Welch got killed trying to get back for you getting shot, would you seek revenge for him? Now, I'm in no means saying the murders of Cess, Neef, or anybody else involved in the low-end gang war are justified.
He did what he had to do.
This cycle of violence needs to stop. But it's impossible.
Damn, they got a fucking tally sheet of fucking people that passed away. 757, you got Marley killed by CPD. Damn. Jamar, question mark. Cess, killed by Tay Savage. Neef, killed by Tay Savage. Bud, killed by Curry. Booney accident. Snoop accident. Sonny, killed by D Wade. Ray, yo, they really got a tally sheet of this shit.
To hear Tay's story,
they gonna find out that scoreboard.
In his shoes, and imagine how you might have.
Damn. So I guess they up on the scoreboard. It looking like Woj killed by Neef. Toke, question mark. Lil Tim killed by TTB. Not by ops. Walt killed by Snoop and Dre.
Responded to being in some of the same circumstances he was placed in. Would you have become a savage and taken revenge, or would you have taken a different path? Many people like to fantasize about and think that's what they would have done, but very few people can really call themselves a savage. Most people in Tay's situation might not have beaten their murder cases, and if he didn't get not guilty verdicts, he would have been just another killer.
Nah, he looked like Vaughn right there with the dreads.
And if he didn't get not
that
guilty
one picture of
verdicts,
Vaughn,
he would have been just another killer serving life in the Chicago prison system. But just like King Von beating his murder cases, for whatever reason, Tay Savage was spared punishment for his alleged involvement in these murders by a jury of his peers. And as a society, we have to accept that result. The courts and a jury gave Tay Savage a second chance at life.
That man's
now,
innocent.
He's got the opportunity of a lifetime.
He was found
to make it
innocent.
Out of the streets.
He did not do that shit.
With the chance to make a living creating art,
because he was guilty.
Creating destruction in the streets. It
will
be interesting to see
looked
where
at him differently in the real world.
Will his bully persona persist and end up putting him in a precarious position where he could lose everything just like Von? Or will his newfound wisdom and focus from 8+ years in jail, combined with his Islamic faith, be enough to keep him out of trouble? Only time will tell. But one thing is for sure, Tay Savage seems to be on the road to greatness, but he can't escape his past. And unfortunately, as he continues to travel up that path to the top, he's got to keep one eye looking over his shoulder at all times. I hope you found that video interesting. I found it interesting to learn about all of these Chicago stories. I just want to make it clear that no disrespect.
That was good. I ain't gonna lie. I thought it was gonna be stretched out, but he really like broke down all the gangs in the low end, why they beefing. He did a good job, as always. I ain't gonna lie, like, motherfuckers hate on him because of whatever reason, because he be taking all the information on Reddit. He be doing his research, and he be respectful in the way he put the shit. So it's like, I can't really hate on it. And it's all, like, accurate information. Not all of it. A lot of it is, like, speculated, but he makes sure that's known.
Anybody else I mentioned in this video. I'm not intending to
glorify any of
the situations discussed in this story. I'm just trying to document the harsh reality on some of the most dangerous streets in America and the true tragic stories behind some of the most popular.
I swear that first 20 minutes is always hitting, bro. He be talking about the Jim Crow laws and shit
in the modern era of hip hop. I hope you can appreciate that. And finally, rest in peace to everyone in this story who lost their lives.
Rest in peace, everybody. Boy, tell me Ross don't know how to make your day. Those interviews with Tay really make me wonder what life would have been like if he'd been anywhere else. He seemed more thoughtful than most, like it really was all about survival. That's what I'd be saying. I agree. I don't condone what Tay Savage did in his past, but his ability to squash beef and let shit go. Yo, bro, they really be... Bro, that squash and beef shit. I hope everybody can get along, but I don't believe that shit at all. Be cordial with enemies is something we really don't see out the rack. I mean, he really had never had no beef with J-Man, though. And the GDs, all like that. Still a good-ass video, though.